One of the things you have to know about fame is it ain't gonna last.
Mariella Meets on Times Radio. Listen for free on the Times Radio app.
TalkSport Drive. Weekday afternoons from 4 on TalkSport. Unrivaled, opinionated comment from the biggest names in sport.
Join me, Andy Goldstein, and TalkSport Team Drive.
A tower of sporting power in the afternoon.
Adrenaline-soaked, seat-swapping high-performance radio where horsepower meets goal power.
TalkSport Drive.
100% nationwide coverage.
Weekday afternoons from 4 on TalkSport. The fastest football on the way home. TalkSport Drive.
Hey, it's Brian Dunseth, former Olympian and current SiriusXM FC host. Do you need more than your average recap of the weekend in soccer?
Sorry, America, but it is the biggest sport in the world.
Well, look no further than Weekend in Tackle. This podcast is all about stories we want you to know, from the most important on-the-field moments to the lighter side of the beautiful game.
You were jumping up and down like a lunatic. That's 7 beers before the game for you.
It's all on Weekend in Tackle, available every Monday wherever you stream your podcast or listen on the SXM app, included with most subscriptions.
Premier League Live with TalkSport.
Through ball to Haaland, one-on-one, no mistake. It's the dream debut for Erling Braut Haaland.
The goals, the stories, the sackings, the thrashings, and everything in between.
And it's Darwin Núñez with a little flick into the roof of the net. Instant impact again from the Uruguayan. Salah with the low cross. Núñez first to it, and he's flicked it into the net.
Let the drama unfold.
Turned in for 2-0, and it's Pascal Gross again, and it's all falling apart for Erik ten Hag and for Manchester United.
Premier League Live with TalkSport.
You're listening to TalkSport's coverage of Chelsea against Tottenham Hotspur from Stamford Bridge. I'm your host, Phil Blacker. Alongside me is the former Tottenham defender, Chris Perry. This is Premier League Live. And 2 of last season's top 4 meet in just the second week of the new campaign. It's a Sunday showdown at Stamford Bridge in an all-capital clash that could tell us much about the prospects of 2 of the Premier League's most storied sides. On the weekend, it celebrates its 30th birthday. One of the standout fixtures is this meeting between 2 ever-present members, both with big ambitions for the season ahead. Let me start by bringing you the team news in full. Chelsea making 2 changes from their 1-0 victory at Everton on opening weekend. Into the side come Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and for a first time from the start for Chelsea, Marc Cucurella, the summer signing from Brighton. They are in for Cesar Azpilicueta and Ben Chilwell, who dropped to the bench. Edouard Mendy in goal. We're led to believe it will be a back 3 for Chelsea of Reece James, Thiago Silva and Kalidou Koulibaly, with Cucurella and Loftus-Cheek as the wing-backs, N'Golo Kanté and Jorginho in the heart of midfield, Mason Mount, Raheem Sterling and Kai Havertz, the same front 3 as last weekend. Spurs have named, maybe unsurprisingly, the same starting 11 that began their 4-1 victory against Southampton to start the season in style. Hugo Lloris is in goal. Their back 3 is Christian Romero, Eric Dyer and Ben Davies. Emerson Royal and Ryan Sessegnon the wing-backs, with Rodrigo Bentancur and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg in the heart of midfield. Dejan Kulusevski and Son Heung-min supporting Harry Kane up front. Notably though, they do have Richarlison on the bench for the first time since his summer switch from Everton. And Japhet Tanganga also back amongst the Spurs subs involved for the first time since he was injured against Chelsea back in January. So let's get the thoughts of Chris Perry alongside me in the commentary box for this one. First of all, before we look at the team news, Chris, in a bit more detail, your overall impressions of the 2 clubs going into this second week of the season.
Yeah, I think Chelsea probably don't really yet know exactly what their squad's going to look like come the end of the transfer window. They're still looking to bring a couple of players in. They still might move a few more players on. I know there's 4 or 5 that haven't been given a squad number that they're certainly looking to move on, and they're still looking to strengthen that squad really. And so they're in a little bit of an unknown quantity really. How are they going to perform? They got the win at Everton last week, but it was by hook or by crook really. It wasn't convincing.
Wasn't it? Yeah,
Absolutely. Whereas Spurs, I think, come to Stamford Bridge with their strongest squad they've ever had in the Premier League era. They really do. They've got strength in depth in all areas of the pitch. They've got real belief. They're unchanged from a good win last week against Southampton after going a goal behind, scoring 4 goals. And get the feeling that Antonio Conte has got exactly the squad that he wanted.
Certainly strengthened the squad, hasn't he? The starting 11 were all at the club at the end of last season, but you look at the bench, Richarlison featuring for the first time potentially today, Ivan Perisic, Yves Bissouma, are all top quality players, aren't they, that will have a big part to play over the course of the campaign.
Absolutely, yeah. They've strengthened. Clement Longley not in the squad today, was in the squad last week, which has allowed Japhet Tanganga, as you said, to come back in, but Longley will certainly be used throughout the season. Fantastic experienced defender from Barcelona on loan. I think the strength of the team is there for all to see. The middle of the team is just so strong. You've got Romero, who I think is probably the outstanding defender in the Premier League. 1v1, I really do. He does not get beat 1v1. Eric Dyer has had fantastic season last year, started on fire this season. Ben Davies, so reliable, and then you look at Højbjerg and Bentancur, real partnership they've put together since Bentancur's come in, and then you've got Kane and Son up front. I mean, it's a real strong middle of the pitch for Spurs.
Big opportunity for them this season, big opportunity for them today, although they have won just one of their last 32 league visits to Chelsea dating back to 1990. Antonio Conte and Spurs hoping maybe that today could be the day to change that. Let's look at the Chelsea side that they're up against and potentially how they're going to line up. Initially when I saw the 11, looked like a flat back four, James, Thiago Silva, Koulibaly and Marc Cucurella coming in, but we're led to believe that they could play with a three. Reece James might be on the right of that back three, and Ruben Loftus-Cheek as a wing back. We'll see how it settles down and how it starts, but there's options in there, isn't there?
Yeah, there's certainly options to change it. I mean, Loftus-Cheek actually went and played centre back in a back three for one of the games last season.
Yeah, this in the FA Cup, didn't he?
Exactly, yeah. So I mean, there are options there. Reece James, we all know, can play right side centre back in a back three. He was absolutely outstanding at times last season in that position, played a lot of his youth football in that position, and Koulibaly is a fantastic signing. What a legend he's been at Napoli, a real leader of men and a real colossus at the back for Chelsea. I think he'll be as the season goes on.
Yeah, excellent addition to the squad. Cucurella had a brilliant season at Brighton. Huge money spent on him, the world's most expensive left back. We get the chance to see him today ahead of Ben Chilwell.
Yeah, I think those two will rotate. I think early on in the season, I think they'll still be looking at Ben Chilwell's overall match fitness, looking after him, making sure he can last the whole season after so long out injured. And Cucurella's a good option, and it gives them real quality on that left-hand side if they want to play wing-backs. Cucurella can play it as a left-back in a back four, but it looks like Marcus Alonso's going to move on, and it is going to be those two fighting for that position.
And for Spurs, just quickly, we touched on the victory over Southampton last weekend, scoring 4 times, and yet Kane and Son weren't amongst the scorers. I guess that bodes well for them.
That's fantastic, isn't it? You got Sessegnon, Dyer on the score sheet, 2 defenders, if you like, in that 5 at the back. And as you say, Kane didn't score, Son didn't score, and those 2 last season. Son, what a magnificent season he had, and Kane, we all know that sometimes he struggles in August, but once he hits September, he's going to start flying.
Well, all the ingredients there certainly for a key contest today. Coming up very shortly, we'll hear from both bosses. We're going to look back on the best of yesterday's action as well before kick-off at Stamford Bridge, which is less than 20 minutes away now. You are listening to Premier League Live.
Previously on White and Jordan.
Well, we didn't budget for this money. Surely we want to give it to our lesser cousins. Yes, and the moon's made of cheese, right?
Clash of the Simon.
The modern day fairy tale today in English football almost inevitably involves money.
There's no such thing as a no-score draw.
But this will be an exercise in goodwill. Something that the Premier League is bereft of.
How biased is Trevor? Sort it out. Seriously, sort it out.
White and Jordan.
The nation's primary destination for a triple distilled opinion and blistering debate.
Weekday mornings from 10 on the world-famous Talk Sport.
Times Radio.
I'm Mariella Frostrup. Join me as I talk to renowned guests about the worlds of culture, lifestyle and entertainment.
Including Sir Michael Palin.
Python's always been, I think, a nice mix. It's about human behaviour and what we do and how we sort of mess ourselves up.
And Werner Herzog.
When you look at family romance, it's a deeply humanistic film. It is a very essential of my films.
From auteurs to icons, artists to activists. Join me, Mariella Frostrup, Frostrup for the radio show dedicated to exploring the ideas that shape our times.
Mariella Frostrup.
Monday to Thursday afternoons from 1
on Times Radio.
Stories of our times from the Times and the Sunday Times.
One agenda-setting story told in depth by experts.
I'm Manveen Rana.
I'm David Aronovich. Go beyond the headlines with original quality journalism and exclusive interviews.
What happens in the next year may define this country for the next 40 years.
We take you to the heart of the stories that matter. With exclusive access and reporting, you'll hear from the best and most informed journalists from the UK's most trusted newspaper. It's published for the start of your day, and you can listen for free on the Times Radio app or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for Stories of Our Times.
John Pienaar at Drive, Monday to Thursday afternoon from 4 on Times Radio.
We're going to be talking about the news, and we're going to be discussing it and explaining it.
Join John Pienaar for the Drive Time show dedicated to the news that matters and the views that need to be heard.
I'm going to give people the time and space to tell us what they think, and I'm not going to tell you what to think. I'm going to help you make up your mind.
Trusted news, insight and opinion that speaks for itself. John Pienaar at Drive.
4 to 7, Monday to Thursday.
On Times Radio.
Hey, I'm Brian Dunseth from SiriusXM-FC. Every Monday, join Tom Rennie and me as we go all around the soccer world on our podcast, Week in the Tackle.
Enter our private circle.
From the significant...
There is a lot of reason to think they're going to win this tournament.
To the absurd.
This little car comes on, like...
We cover the soccer stories we find interesting on Week in the Tackle. Available for free on Stitcher or your favorite podcast platform.
We are counting down to kick-off at Stamford Bridge. London derby action on the way between Chelsea and Spurs. Just a quarter of an hour to kick off in West London. But before we fully focus on that one, let's look back at the best of yesterday's action. Remind you of the scores. It all started with that early kick-off, the 2-1 victory for Villa at home to Everton. Something of a statement success maybe for Arsenal. 4-2 winners against Leicester City. A couple of goals for Gabriel Jesus on his home debut for the club. No goals on the south coast between Brighton and Newcastle. Manchester City comfortable winners 4-0 against Bournemouth. The major surprise maybe was that Erling Haaland wasn't amongst the scorers. 2-2 at St Mary's between Southampton and Leeds United, and also goalless at Molineux. Wolves against Fulham. And then came the big talking point of the day, the final game of the day yesterday. Brentford beating Manchester United incredibly by 4-0, 4-0 up after about 34 minutes of the match, and saw it through comfortably. Erik ten Hag starting with back-to-back defeats, and yet he insists the task of the job, the size of it, hasn't surprised him.
No, I knew, and that is a challenge I would go, so, and it's still there, and so there's a challenge I come over. And so we know we will turn around, but it's going to be a tough battle. That's also clear.
Well, very clear, wasn't it? I think he probably knew that going into the game at Brentford yesterday, Chris. But what a statement success for the Bees. We'll come on to them because they do deserve an awful lot of credit, and we'll give them their share. But the major talking point really is the start that Manchester United have made to this season, the job that Erik ten Hag has inherited. I mean, this clearly can't all be down to him 2 games in, but it's a bit of a nightmare for him, isn't it, the way that his reign has begun?
Certainly he'd have hoped to start better, without a doubt. Yeah, I mean, just the manner of the defeat and the manner of that first half performance is the worrying thing for Manchester United. How easy it was for Brentford to score goals from set plays, from sloppy playing out from the back. I mean, you can't legislate for David De Gea's first mistake for the goal.
No.
But you can stop the other 3 goals. The other 3 goals are all stoppable. And they just looked as though they were second best to everything. Brentford were just quicker, faster, brighter, better in possession. And you can't be, as Manchester United, you can't expect to be worse than Brentford. That's just unacceptable for Manchester United. It just can't happen. And for me, it looks as though Erik ten Hag, I think, has underestimated, the level in the league. You know, just how good and how strong the Premier League is throughout. Coming from Dutch League, there's 2 or 3 games that are really tough. Then there's a few teams that you know you've got to perform, and then there's some teams that you know you're just going to roll over. That doesn't happen in the Premier League, and I think he's finding that out, and he's finding out that there's certain players he just can't pick for those sort of games where he needs the team to dig in a little bit.
And quite an eye-opening first couple of weeks for him, hasn't it? That is for sure. But these sort of performances have been happening under a succession of Manchester United managers. Clearly that's the easiest thing to change, and it has changed fairly regularly recently, but the results and the performances haven't necessarily. So longer term, I mean, how do you go about changing that? Is it this squad of players aren't putting it in? You can't get rid of all of them. Is it the owners that have to go? Where do you start?
Well, the owners make the decision, so the owners are only going to go if they want to go, if they get offered the right amount of money to go. So it's going to be managers, and it's going to be players, and it's going to be recruitment staff necessarily that you can change in the short term. And I just think they've recruited poorly.
Because they've spent money, haven't they?
Yeah, I think they've recruited poorly. I think they haven't brought the players in that are going to improve the squad in the right areas of the squad anyway. And I just think that Cristiano Ronaldo being there is a big problem for him. I think they need to move him on.
Yeah, clearly doesn't particularly seem to want to be there either, does he? No. But as I mentioned, let's give Brentford their share of credit, because they were absolutely excellent, as were Brighton in the previous weekend in beating Manchester United. You know, these are clubs that have adapted now to the Premier League, that are looking to work their way up, and they're going to have this kind of belief, aren't they, against anybody?
They are, because and they deserve. Brentford last season, I thought, probably surprised most people in the way that they played, the way they attacked games. You know, at their own stadium, they really do play high speed, entertaining football, look to get crosses in the box. You know, they've got set piece coaches that work on every single weakness that every other side has got as set pieces, and they tore Manchester United apart at times. And it's difficult to take for Manchester United fans, I'm sure, because they're used to seeing their team 10 years ago now, unfortunately, but winning titles and challenging for titles every single season, and they just seem to be falling further and further away from that now.
Yeah, and Brentford making memories the like of which they haven't seen for generations. It's a great story, isn't it? That was yesterday. Let us focus, though, on our commentary to come, which is only 10 minutes away at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea against Spurs. Thomas Tuchel and Antonio Conte on his return to a former club, going head-to-head on the touchline.
I don't believe everything that Antonio Conte says in games like this, before games and after games. I admire him a lot, and I believe strongly that every team he trains competes for everything, no matter which team it is and what club it is. And this is what he proves right now.
For me, it would be very important to understand, to make the right evaluation after the game, the performance, the way that we played, to feel our improvement and for the future. Yeah.
We could use one more central defender. Yeah, if you look at the numbers, and given the fact that in the moment we play with a back three, and the profile of the guys in the back three is a little bit different, I admit. So we're playing with also with Aspi, who is more a fullback, as a central defender in a back three. With Cucurella, it's possible. Mm-hmm. It's a good position, but both of them, for example, cannot play as central defenders. So real central defenders, we could use one more. Let's see what happens.
Don't forget that in November we were in trouble. Now I see a lot of optimism. Yeah, but we are talking not a lot of time ago. And in November we were in trouble in many aspects. Now, after we worked 7 months, after we signed some players, I see that there is more optimism, and the environment about the press is good. But there is only one way to follow for us, and to try to continue to work in this way, to improve the players, because the level of my players, I think, through the work improved a lot.
Well, great to hear the thoughts of both bosses ahead of the game, particularly from a tactical point of view. And it's going to be one of the features of the contest, isn't it? How those two are going to try and outdo each other.
Absolutely, and going back on previous meetings, Thomas Tuchel seems to have...
He's got Tottenham's number, hasn't he?
He's got Tottenham's number, and he's got Conte's number.
Yeah.
He's won all 3 games against Conte, and he's won all 7 against Spurs. So, I mean, tactically, we all know Thomas Tuchel is usually absolutely spot on. I think Conte coming into this game will believe that he has got his best 11, what he feels is his best 11 currently on the pitch, and that he will be able to give this Chelsea team a real run for their money today. And I'm really looking forward to it. I think this is a clash of two teams that are going to be fighting it out for third place this season. I really do. This for me could be crucial. If Tottenham come away from this and win this game, I fancy them to go and finish third this season. Yeah, that has to be at least the minimum really of their aim, doesn't it, given the squad that they've put together. They finished 3 points, 1 place behind Chelsea last season. Talking tactics, we touched on it earlier, and Thomas Tuchel has confirmed it, I believe, pre-match, is that they will go with a back three. Reece James is going to be in it, and Loftus-Cheek does play wing-back. It's a big call. It's a bit of a big call, yeah. I mean, not putting Reece James at right side centre-back because he's very comfortable there, has played a lot of his football there, as we said earlier, and is an outstanding 1v1 defender. Him against Son, I'm looking forward to what a battle that'll be. But Loftus-Cheek, I think we've seen he's quite versatile. Played at right wing back a couple of times last season, did really well, can carry the ball, has good quality when he looks forward and can link up play. So I don't think it weakens Chelsea at all. Okay, we shall see. It's set up beautifully, isn't it? Ahead of kick-off in the capital. The teams are in the tunnel here. Can Tottenham turn around their recent fortunes, or lack of them, at Stamford Bridge, where they have won just one of their last 32 league visits? That actually was when Antonio Conte was in charge of Chelsea. He is yet to win on his return here, beaten twice with Spurs last season. What has this one got in store? Let's find out. You are listening to Premier League Live.
Global events.
The priority now is collecting the evidence.
Breaking news.
Every life that they can save is a success.
Reactive analysis.
It's a very bizarre situation.
From the world's best journalists.
An unfortunate pattern is emerging.
And renowned experts from across the globe.
It still doesn't resolve the fundamental issues.
Keeping you informed as events unfold.
This is a flagrant violation of international law.
Times Radio is available to listen without a subscription. On DAB digital radio, online, via the Times Radio app, and on your smart speaker. Times Radio. Know your times.
TalkSport Drive. Weekday afternoons from 4 on TalkSport. A tower of sporting power in the afternoon.
Join me, Andy Goldstein, and TalkSport Team Drive.
The latest sports news, hard-hitting opinion, and exclusive interviews with the biggest names in the game.
Under the bonnet, over the top, into the back of the net.
Sports Mad Afternoon Radio, driven by you.
Revs up weekdays from 4, only on TalkSport.
The fastest football on the way home. TalkSport Drive.
Previously on White and Jordan.
It costs the taxpayer zip, zero, zilch, nada, Nathan, nothing.
White Hot Sports News. Incomparable comment.
I mean, honestly, soft tissue injury, 50% up.
Okay.
And at the same stage last season, they don't lie.
Statistics are the beginning of a conversation, Jim, not the end of it.
Comments, conflict and confrontation.
International friendlies, ditch them. Gone. Carabao Cup, gone. FA Cup, gone.
Jim White.
4 words, never going to happen.
Simon Jordan.
Go away and come back when you've got something more grown up to say.
Continues weekday mornings from 10 on TalkSport.
Yeah.
Times Radio, making sense of a changing world.
The biggest names in politics.
The Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, is here.
Well, a great honour to be here.
The arts.
My first guest is the acclaimed director Werner Herzog.
Entertainment.
I'm joined by Darren Brown.
World events, at home and abroad.
Shots have been fired in the Black Sea.
And the world's best resourced, intelligent opinion.
I came into politics to change lives.
In times of change, be well informed.
Times Radio is available to listen without a subscription on DAB digital radio, online, via the Times Radio app, and on your smart speaker.
Times Radio.
TalkSport Breakfast. Weekday mornings from 6. A new day, a new dawn.
God bless, bang, 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 9 dart finish.
Featuring a rotating team of top name talent, including Laura Woods.
Oh, it does make me a little bit...
Ali McCoyce.
What a mouth-watering prospect.
And Alan Brazil.
You know, you are some blagger, you are.
TalkSport Breakfast.
Look, we've woken up, finally.
We have, we're off and running.
Weekday mornings from 6 on TalkSport.
You're listening to TalkSport's coverage of Chelsea against Tottenham Hotspur from Stamford Bridge. I'm your host, Phil Blacker. Alongside me is the former Tottenham defender, Chris Perry. This is Premier League Live, and we are almost set for the start. The teams are out on the field of play. Let me remind you of how they line up. Chelsea with Edouard Mendy in goal. A back three today of Reece James, Thiago Silva and Kalidou Koulibaly. with Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Marc Cucurella making his first start for the club as the wing-backs, N'Golo Kanté and Jorginho in midfield, Mason Mount and Kai Havertz supporting new signing Raheem Sterling, who makes a home debut for Chelsea in the Premier League. Spurs are unchanged from their 4-1 victory over Southampton 8 days ago. Hugo Lloris is in goal. A back three of Christian Romero, Eric Dyer and Ben Davies. Emerson Royal wide on the right, Ryan Sessegnon on the left, with Rodrigo Bentancur and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg in the heart of midfield. Dejan Kulusevski had such a strong start to the season last week, supporting Son Heung-min and Harry Kane, who has history in his sights today. 183 Premier League goals coming into the match, one behind Sergio Aguero, who is currently fourth all-time in the Premier League. Came with 248 Tottenham goals in total, 41 goals in London derbies. That is two behind Thierry Henry's record. Spurs have won 99 Premier League London derbies. Can they, though, get an elusive win away at Chelsea, who have taken more Premier League points, won more games and scored more goals against Spurs than against any other opponents? We are waiting for Anthony Taylor, the referee, to get the action underway, the fourth time that he has taken charge of this particular fixture, but a first at Stamford Bridge. Was in charge at Wembley, actually, when Chelsea beat Spurs to win the League Cup back in 2015. On VAR duty for this one, now retired as a man in the middle, but Mike Dean has the responsibility back in the hub if required. So it will be Chelsea in their first home game of the new season under their new regime, with Todd Bowley watching on in the stands after a big summer spending spree once they got the all clear. Get the game underway, playing as we look at it from right to left. The blue shirts, blue shorts, white socks. Spurs in their traditional colours as well. The white shirts, blue shorts and socks. We have kicked off in the capital. There's always a fixture to stir the emotions. It's always played, Chris Perry, with that little bit of an extra edge.
Yeah, this is a big game. This is Chelsea's big derby. Spurs now almost feel this is almost as big as the North London derby now, this game against Chelsea. Chelsea, as you say, over the years, particularly here at Stamford Bridge, have had such a good run in this fixture. Tottenham just the one win in Premier League history. But they come here today with real belief that they can turn that round and get the 3 points.
Two teams that finished in the top four last term. That is the minimum extent, really, of their ambitions this time around. But to go any higher is so tough right now, given the quality of last season's top two. But we shall see. This is an early indication as these two go toe to toe. It's a real up and under on halfway from Eric Dyer. Underneath it is N'Golo Kanté. It's in a little bit of early possession for Spurs through the first minute of the match as Chelsea look to impose themselves. And there is this sense of occasion, isn't there? A first home game under the new regime, who have set their stall out with the summer spending. They mean business.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, they'd certainly splashed the cash so far and looking to bring more in.
Well, it's certainly not the extent of their business, that is for sure. They advance here with Mason Mount down the left-hand side, taking the pass from one of those new arrivals, Marc Cucurella. That's part of £60 million. They parted with to bring him from Brighton after just a solitary season in the Premier League. Now Spurs advance with Kulusevski, slipping in Son, edge of the penalty area, left-hand side. He's just been forced wide by Thiago Silva. Goes infield towards Rodrigo Bentancur. He's able to hang on to possession for Spurs, but in doing so just retreated a few paces. Chelsea have got bodies in blue back behind the ball again, but Spurs have it now with Emerson Royal wide on their right hand side. Kane has come across to this near touchline. He is dispossessed by Koulibaly, but unfairly so, says referee Taylor. It's a Tottenham free kick just in from the touchline.
It's a real opportunity for Spurs on the counter-attack there. Kulusevski had the chance to slip Son in. Don't think he quite put enough pace on the ball. Needed to put it in behind Thiago Silva, but really good defending from Thiago Silva. So experienced, just dropped off, delayed, and was able to just snuff out the danger. But a free kick in a good position for Spurs now.
See what they can conjure up here. Kulusevski and Son currently deep in conversation on the touchline, both standing behind the ball as Chelsea marshal the defensive unit. A very congested penalty area awaiting this delivery. Kulusevski is going to step over it and leave it for Son to strike it left-footed and to overhit it. It drops beyond that angle of post and bar on the far side and is rather wasteful in the end.
It's a really poor free kick from Heung-min Son. You expect so much better. Interesting, he took it on his left foot. very, very strong right-footed player normally, but took the free kick with his left foot. You'd have rather see Kulusevski take it with his left foot.
Trying to swing it in, but swung it over and harmlessly behind. 3.5 minutes played at Stamford Bridge on Premier League Live. Chelsea 0, Spurs 0. Chelsea trying to build from the back here, the Blues, with Koulibaly and Cucurella, two of the new boys. Koulibaly's options restricted somewhat by the presence of Dejan Kulusevski, who had such an impressive second half of last season since his switch to Tottenham. This is Harry Kane on the edge of the penalty area, trying to find Son into the feet of Son. Just took his time in getting his shot away, by which point it was blocked away by Chelsea. But Spurs will come again. All being played in the Chelsea half just at the moment. Emerson Royal drifting forward towards the edge of the penalty area. This is Harry Kane, scoops it up towards Emerson, who continued his run, hucking it back from the byline where it's gathered up the edge of his 6-yard box by Edouard Mendy.
Really positive start from Spurs. They've been all over Chelsea, not allowing Chelsea players any time on the ball, winning the ball back in the Chelsea half. Lovely scoop over the top from Harry Kane. Emerson Royal couldn't quite get on the end of it. Sterling now for Chelsea.
It's held up by Eric Dyer. Sterling goes down appealing for the free kick, which is not forthcoming. Dyer is permitted to continue, and does so actually deep into Chelsea territory here. A strong surge from centre-back, helping it on towards Harry Kane, who in turn was dispossessed by Reece James, and they just clipped James to Kane as he attempted to win the ball back. Chelsea still a little unhappy they didn't get the earlier one when Sterling went down.
I think Eric Dyer was just a little bit stronger than Raheem Sterling, but certainly Reece James showed just how strong he is there to hold off the challenge of Harry Kane.
So free kick Chelsea midway inside their own half. Touched to his right by Thiago Silva. And get the ball back from Reece James. Slight change of role for him today. Back on the ball again. Loftus-Cheek did well. Very tight to the touchline to turn and charge forward, taking on Bentancur, who got his foot to it. Nobody quite had it under control. Now Bentancur is forced to battle for that with N'Golo Kanté. It's frantic stuff 5 minutes in.
Yeah, it's helter-skelter. There's no time on the ball for anyone in that middle of the pitch.
Always likely to be the way in the early stages as these derby rivals go toe-to-toe. Cucurella bringing it under control on halfway. Koulibaly caught in possession by Dejan Kulusevski. Two players that have made the move to the Premier League from Serie A. Thiago Silva out to Reece James on the halfway line. Gets it back from Loftus-Cheek here. James with time to assess his options. Shifts it infield to N'Golo Kanté. So important that he stays fit this season for Chelsea. Thomas Tuchel's made it clear how key he is as Koulibaly goes long, asking Kai Havertz to chase it, and he's just going to run out of room over there up against Ryan Sessegnon. He has a big part to play as well. He's keeping the new boy Ivan Perisic out of the Tottenham team at the start of the season. Perisic, who played with great success under Conte at Inter, and he's having to be patient in adapting to the Premier League. Such has been the form of Sessegnon in pre-season, and indeed a goal scorer on opening day against Southampton. Went through the whole of last season without scoring in the Premier League, but I get the feeling this could be a big season for Sessegnon. Conte appears to rate him, and he has a notable track record with the wing-backs, doesn't he?
He does, and I think wing-back is the perfect position for Ryan Sessegnon. I think he learnt a lot last season. He's obviously impressed in pre-season to be starting ahead of, as you say, Ivan Perisic, who played under Antonio Conte at Inter as a wing-back. So he knows he's got to perform now, because Perisic is an absolute top player. So far, so good.
Spurs have the ball on their right-hand side with Christian Romero, another former Serie A proven performer. N'Golo Kanté winning it against Son on halfway, and finding Kai Havertz. Seems to have started on the right of the front three for Chelsea. Now Jorginho with a little bit of room to work in. Touches it to his right. Loftus-Cheek, edge of the penalty area. Reece James outside him. Slight deflection on the cross. Cleared as far as Cucurella, who, when it got his shot away, left-footed charge down almost as soon as it left the Spaniard's boot. Jorginho to N'Golo Kanté. As Chelsea recycle it, Conte's got it back from Reece James. Taking on Højbjerg, whips it in towards Sterling, who was lurking with intent there on the edge of the 6-yard area, and acknowledges the attempt to find him, but it just bounced away from him and goes behind.
It's a brilliant ball from Conte, whipped in with his right foot across that 6-yard box, just asking for Raheem Sterling to get across the front of Christian Romero, but Romero stood his ground, was strong, and just made sure that he couldn't get to the ball. Really good defending from the Argentinian.
It appears again as if Sterling has started really as a central striker, as we saw at Everton last week, brought in from Manchester City.
I think it's quite flexible, isn't it? I think Havertz is very comfortable playing there as well.
As he did for much of last season, didn't he? At the expense, actually, of Romelu Lukaku, who's gone back to Serie A, back on loan at his former club Inter, of course, for this year, where he had such success under Conte.
Scored yesterday.
Yeah. Seems to like it there. Didn't quite happen for him here, did it, in his second spell at Chelsea?
I don't think he's hurt here, Romero.
He's gone down writhing in perceived agony on the floor.
He wins the tackle. I think he sees that Cucurella's got the ball in his hands and he's going to take a quick throw in, and he rolls around on the floor just to slow it down so he can get back. They can get back into shape. He has a little look up. He's very clever, isn't he? It's typical. It's exactly what you expect from Christian Romero.
It's safe to say he knew what he was doing in that particular passage of play. Still down, actually, after all of that.
He is, though, I think, the outstanding 1v1 defender in the Premier League. I really do.
Second season at the club, and was something of a statement signing ahead of last year. One or two injury issues, didn't he? But it's safe to say this wasn't one of them. He's back on his feet, having succeeded in slowing things down a little bit. Now Cucurella is able to take the throw for Chelsea, which he does back into his own half with Koulibaly. Thiago Silva square to his right. These two combine. Antonio Rudiger, of course, having moved on since the end of last season to Real Madrid. Koulibaly effectively his replacement. There is Cucurella wide on the left, infield to Jorginho. Bit of space for Reece James, and that change of role hasn't stopped him getting forward in the early stages. Loftus-Cheek is ahead of him, back to James again, out 30 yards from goal, pings it into the penalty area, looking for Sterling. It's Romero in the way who heads it clear. Cucurella is battling Kulusevski for it on the edge of the penalty area. And with 10.5 minutes played, Chelsea just growing into the game a little bit now. Still 0-0 at Stamford Bridge on Premier League Live. Cucurella forward. He was looking, I think, for Mason Mount, but it was cut out by Romero. And then Jorginho comes flying in.
This is a good game, isn't it? You know, both these sides really up for this game. I think they both know the importance of this for their season. Tackles flying in everywhere, some good quality in possession.
It really is a chance, isn't it, to make a statement against a direct rival in every sense. Local rival, but team battling in a similar part of the Premier League table, or expecting to anyway, as the season goes on. Emerson Royal here with the throw. All loose in midfield. It's forward by Jorginho. Kai Havertz tries to get on the end of it. He puts the pressure on Romero. He can just clear that one into touch. I suppose only secured their top four finish last season on the final day with that 5-0 victory at Norwich City. 6th straight year in the end that they have finished above Arsenal. The Gunners let it slip in the last couple of weeks of the season. Chelsea finishing one place above Spurs. They have finished an average 25 points off top spot in the last 5 years since they last won it back in 2017. It's loose inside the centre circle again here with Jorginho. James out towards the right hand side, and Loftus-Cheek, and now N'Golo Kanté striding forward. Loftus-Cheek in support, so too is Sterling. Infield to Jorginho, and again he's driving at Spurs here in possession. He's found Cucurella to his left. He will deliver the cross. First time left footed. It's Ben Davies with the clearance. Height and distance on it, but it will come back at Tottenham here with Reece James. And there was a late challenge, was there, over on that far side by Sessegnon on Loftus-Cheek, who stayed down.
He's a little bit unlucky here, Ryan Sessegnon. I think Loftus-Cheek makes a lot of it, but he's got to be cleverer than that, Ryan Sessegnon. He knows he can't give him the opportunity to go down there, win the free kick, put it in the box. Now you've got Koulibaly, you've got Thiago Silva, who scored in both games last season against Spurs.
Yeah, he's an obvious target here, isn't he? He's already made his way forward. James and Cucurella stand over the free kick for Chelsea, just in from the touchline. 13 minutes played. on Premier League Live. There goes the referee's whistle. Two-man defensive wall initially for Spurs, and then everybody else waiting in the penalty area. Played short into Mason Mount. He's the one trying to deliver it, where Loftus-Cheek was his target. The flag up on the far side of the field, and Chelsea couldn't really make the most of that.
No, good opportunity there. He decided to go short. I think in those situations, just put the ball in the box. Let Thiago Silva, let Koulibaly go and attack the ball. Let's see what Spurs have got defensively.
I'd love to hear your thoughts wherever you're listening to us around the world today. Please do get in touch with us throughout the course of the commentary. At TalkSport Live is our Twitter address. That is the best way to do that. If you care to predict how you think this is going to go as well, we'd love to hear from you at TalkSport Live on Twitter. Spurs with the throw here, midway inside their own half of the field. Ryan Sessegnon looking for options. Sit back from Eric Dyer. Both of those two were on the score sheet at home to Southampton last weekend. Came back from an early goal behind to win 4-1 on opening day. And now they come forward, but Son couldn't quite collect it in his stride. Jorginho intervenes. Koulibaly coming under pressure from Kulusevski, but still able to ping the pass out wide right for Ruben Loftus-Cheek. His progress checked by the presence of Ryan Sessegnon. Infield he goes to Jorginho. He will switch it to the left. Cucurella's in space, able to take a touch and assess his options as he takes a couple of strides forward and then plays it back with a square to Koulibaly. Jorginho, the central part of the pitch, midway inside the Spurs half here. Cucurella forward. Havertz taking over wide on the left. Jorginho, it's all going through him just at the moment. Back to Thiago Silva inside the centre circle. Spurs having to do a lot of work without the ball as they keep their defensive shape. Jorginho prodding it into the path of Mason Mount. Cucurella wide left. Back to Jorginho again. They're patient and probing in possession here at Chelsea. But Spurs keeping their discipline. N'Golo Kanté, it breaks back to him off Bentancur. Conte's going to hit it, he did. It was deflected by Dyer, took the sting out of the situation, but the danger hasn't been dealt with yet. Cucurella will reach it wide left, keeps it in, gets it back from Mason Mount. Infield to Jorginho. Mount helps it on. Cucurella's continued his run, but Emerson Royal went with him, got there first, and it's safety first with the clearance. Whether he meant that or not, I'm not quite sure. It's out of play for the throw.
Yeah, good pressure from Chelsea, going from one side of the pitch to the other. A little bit fortunate. Kanté has the shot. Well blocked by Eric Dyer, but I think Spurs look as though they're just trying to defend the middle of the pitch. I think they look happy if Chelsea get into wide areas and want to put crosses in. Only Havertz really with any height in that front three that's going to cause them a problem.
Back on the ball, the Blues in their own half here. Koulibaly with a touch to Cucurella, who's seeing plenty of it early on. He's had that solitary season, didn't he, at Brighton? He was their player of the year during it. Signed for £15 million, sold for 60, 12 months on. It's not bad business, is it, by Brighton? And he's trying to stake his claim in the Chelsea first team. They made their move after Manchester City failed to meet Brighton's demands. Ruben Loftus-Cheek wide right here for Chelsea, taking on Sessegnon, shows him infield. Son back, helping out his defence, as required really at the moment. Now Havertz has it on the Chelsea right. Son closing him down. Reece James in support. Infield to N'Golo Kanté. Back to James again. Level now with the edge of the Tottenham penalty area.
So many numbers behind the ball for Spurs. Every single white shirt behind the ball.
The pattern has been established in the last few minutes. Mason Mount compiling with Raheem Sterling this time. Now goes infield. Koulibaly. The Chelsea centre-backs currently operating inside Tottenham territory. Thiago Silva forward. This is James wide on the right. His cross charged down by Sessegnon. Struck him on the shoulder really. Bounces back in the end to James via Loftus-Cheek. Kanté forward. Ruben Loftus-Cheek away from Bentancur. Sessegnon got a foot in. James infield. Jorginho dinks it into the middle. Emerson Royal away. Returns it really from whence it came. Son's headed clearance out as far as Koulibaly to hit one. And he did, and he caught it with some power as he swung that left boot at it. The Senegalese centre-back, but he knew from the moment it left his boot that it wasn't going to trouble the target, and wide of Hugo Lloris's right-hand post it went.
Yeah, why not? Good ball to the back post by Jorginho. Well defended by Emerson Royal. Falls nicely for Koulibaly. Good touch to set himself on his slightly weaker left foot. But why not have a go? There wasn't a lot of other options on. Lots of pressure from Chelsea, but can't really find that incisive pass to open Spurs up.
Nearly 18 minutes played. Chelsea 0, Tottenham 0 on Premier League Live. Lloris on the ball inside his own penalty area, spreading it wide left to Ben Davies. Helped on by Sessegnon for Son. Tracked first by James, then Mason Mount got his foot in, won it well. Loftus-Cheek to N'Golo Kanté, skips into space, prods it into the path of Sterling, wide right, infield again, hit for Havertz, they hit it, and it's a fraction wide of the far post. Well, they did open up Spurs that time. Wonderful football from Chelsea in the build-up, and Havertz just couldn't quite find the finish.
It's a little run from Kanté, slides a lovely pass in for Raheem Sterling, who just a little back heel into the path of Havertz, and I think Ben Davies slides across him through the legs of Davies. Actually a brilliant save from Hugo Lloris, gets his right foot to it, sticks it out, fantastic save.
Took it just wide of that far post, but yeah, vital contribution from Hugo Lloris at the expense of the corner, which Cucurella will take for Chelsea as they try and keep the pressure on here. Delivers it left foot in, and it's thumped in. Koulibaly up from the back to introduce himself to the Chelsea fans on his debut at Stamford Bridge, on only his second ever appearance in English football. Kalidou Koulibaly, brought in to bolster the Blues' back line, is a Premier League goal scorer, and Chelsea lead against Spurs with an emphatic finish.
And what a goal this is from Kalidou Koulibaly. What a finish from the centre-back. Ball just gets delivered to the back post by Cucurella, and there he is. He doesn't even think about this, he just watches it all the way, strikes it fully on the volley with his right foot. Beautiful technique, opens his body up, and he can't hit this any better off the laces. This is sensational. Absolutely sensational finish from Kalidou Koulibaly. They bought him for his defending, but that is brilliant.
Stunning strike at Stamford Bridge. No wonder he races away to start the celebrations. He found the sweet spot with that one, all right. And it matters much at the bridge today. Chelsea and Thomas Tuchel edging ahead. This remarkable record that he has against Spurs, winning all 7 previous matches as a manager where he's faced them. His team on top and on the attack again, looking to double the advantage. Sterling unable to find a way through on that occasion. Just took a little too long. Højbjerg was in the way, but Chelsea attempting to build on the momentum provided by that wonderful goal from Koulibaly.
Yes, brilliant from Koulibaly, wasn't it? And Chelsea are right up for this now. Spurs just need to have some of the ball, you feel, find a way back into the game, get some possession, just take the sting out of Chelsea at the moment, because they're really up for this. You know, this stadium is absolutely rocking at the moment.
That sense of occasion, start of a new era that we talked about, just given an extra lift by that wonderful goal, the opening goal of this game. Remarkable time that they had with 19 trophies in 19 years under Roman Abramovich. And it's Todd Bowley and the Clear Lake Capital Group in charge now. They've made their statement this summer with the spending, and now the team trying to make their statement on the pitch against Spurs, who started the season in such style last weekend, but of course did come back from going 1-0 behind at a fairly similar stage of the game. Different type of occasion, much tougher test for them today.
Yeah, definitely. Away from home at a ground where, when you go behind here and you're in a Spurs shirt, you know all about the fact that you don't come back and win here. So they've got to get over those mental issues that are going to be there, you know, and they've also just got to find a way into the game at the moment, because Chelsea are all over Spurs. Every single ball going into a Spurs player is being fully committed from Chelsea. You know, they're going in for those challenges, they're being combative. Sessegnon in,
ball
is he onside?
Over the top, he takes it down, he gets the shot away, left-footed. Mendy racing off his line, spread himself big and made the save. It might have been one for VAR had that gone in. Mendy, though, is equal to the task anyway.
I think he thinks he's offside here, and he probably was. I think if they'd have looked at it again, but the flag stayed down. He has a shot and Mendy saves it, and then he has a little glance over the linesman. He's hoping that the linesman puts his flag up. He didn't look confident at all when he was running through 1v1 with Mendy on the angle. Mendy stood up, was big, and it's a good save from Mendy, but Sessegnon should do better.
He has to try and stick it away, doesn't he? And then ask the questions later, rather than wonder if he might have been offside, because it was clearly close enough for the assistant to keep the flag down, as their advice to do in such situations. We've reached the midway point of the first half on Premier League Live. Chelsea 1, Spurs 0. Sweet strike from Kalidou Koulibaly, the Senegalese centre-back, separating the sides. at Stamford Bridge in the Sunday sunshine. The shadows just beginning to lengthen across the playing field. Eric Dyer with the ball through the middle, looking for Kane, couldn't make it stick. Havertz picks up the pieces inside the centre circle, looking for Reece James. Son takes a tumble. As those two come together, neither could get hold of the ball. Spurs have it back, but it's comfortably cut out on halfway by Thiago Silva. Little flick by N'Golo Conte. He will get it back here from Mount. Taking on Bentancur, working it wider for Raheem Sterling. Looked like his first touch had let him down, but he was still able to gather it up. Gets it back from Conte. Has support from Loftus-Cheek. Ball into the boxes, deflected. Højbjerg stretching for Spurs. Just able to get enough on it. Son forward, looking for Kulusevski through the middle, but there is no way through. It's cut out and Chelsea have it back with Marc Cucurella. Infield to Mount. 24 minutes played on Premier League Live. Chelsea 1, Spurs 0.
The tempo of this game is unbelievable. When you think about the heat that there is in Stamford Bridge at the moment, the tempo that this is being played at is sensational.
Can they sustain it after a tough pre-season? Plenty of travel for both of these two teams. We saw yesterday the effect really that the weather had on a lot of the matches. It's benefiting perhaps from the slightly later kick-off. Last game of the day, Forest having beaten West Ham 1-0 if you missed it earlier. There is Loftus-Cheek who keeps it in play for Chelsea on their right hand side, goes back down the line. Reece James infield to Thiago Silva. James listening to us from a soggy Tampa in Florida. Seth listening to the Garden, hoping for Spurs to win. Josh predicting a Spurs win 2-0. In fairness, that was just before the opening goal went in from Koulibaly, the only goal so far. Thiago Silva forward, Reece James. And if he is playing in that back three, he's doing so in a very advanced role, isn't he? Jorginho forward in towards against James. It breaks for Jorginho. The pass has to be so precise because there's very little time or space for anybody. Raheem Sterling on the ball. Now Reece James as the England colleagues combine. Thiago Silva on halfway. Here's the goal scorer. Koulibaly has it on the centre spot. That partnership with Thiago Silva going to be so important, you sense, as the season goes on. So much experience at the back for the Blues. There's Mason Mount flicking it into space for Cucurella to advance. He had Sterling to aim for. Ben Davies able to cut it out, but can clear it only as far as N'Golo Conte. James down the line. Loftus-Cheek is targeted. Son back in his own box, bundling it behind for the corner, and that tells something of the story.
And that's what Antonio Conte wants from his team, doesn't he? He wants everyone to really help out, whether they're attacking, whether they're defending. And Heung-min Son tracks the run back into the box, gives away the corner. I think rather cheaply should have swung his left foot at it and put it out for a throw-in. Can Chelsea capitalise?
Spurs haven't won home or away against Chelsea since victory at Wembley in November of 2018 under Pochettino. They've got some defending to do here as the corner comes in towards Thiago Silva near post. Almost came for Koulibaly again, and he beats the ground in frustration there because for a split second it appeared as if it was going to fall favourably for him to have another go.
Yeah, he was under a little bit more pressure this time from Christian Romero, but he just wanted it to come down a little bit, just didn't come down enough. Tried the acrobatic volley but couldn't go over the top of this one as we go for the drinks break, I think now.
Yeah, just past the midway point of the first half, the Premier League bringing the drinks breaks back for this weekend. Such has been the temperature across the country in the August heat wave. First saw it, didn't we, during the post-lockdown matches a couple of years ago. But what it does do, of course, is offer this little opportunity for reflection about a quarter of the way into the contest, and Thomas Tuchel, safe to say, will be much the happier at the moment.
Oh, without a doubt. I think Spurs started brilliantly, probably first 10 minutes, and Chelsea saw out the initial onslaught from Spurs, worked their way into the game, and now Chelsea are right on top of this game. They're forcing Spurs to defend. Spurs, when they are defending with 11 men behind the ball, probably 30 yards from their own goal, and so there isn't really an outball when they do win it back. They're making it difficult for Chelsea to create chances, but they haven't really got the opportunity to attack when they win it back. And I think one of the strengths, particularly of this front three last season, Kane, Kulusevski and Son, was the fact that they can spring from defence to attack so quickly.
Yeah, that one opportunity maybe borderline offside for Sessegnon. Aside, we haven't really seen that from Spurs yet, and it's Koulibaly's goal that separates them, that memorable goal on his Stamford Bridge debut. He did get 3 in Serie A for Napoli last season, and during over 300 goal appearances for the club, he scored I think 14 times for them. And this is a moment that he's always going to remember, isn't it? Some way to introduce himself to Stamford Bridge.
It's brilliant though. He watches it all the way. He controls it beautifully off his laces. It's a fantastic volley, but you have to wonder why Kalidou Koulibaly is unmarked in the middle of Tottenham's penalty area. He's 6'4". He's going to go and attack the ball at some stage, and he's unmarked. It's just beyond belief. Antonio Conte, someone has not done their job there. He'll be really, really disappointed with that.
And he won't be slow in having pointed that out, I'm sure. It's his wretched record on returning to Stamford Bridge continues currently. Plenty of time, of course, for that to change. Stadium where he spent 2 seasons in charge, 2016 to 2018, winning the Premier League title in his first, winning the FA Cup in his second, and then he was sacked, wasn't he? Beaten both times last season on his return in League and Cup. Play back underway after the break with the Blues on the ball. Koulibaly just inside his own half, the man that's made the difference so far. Finding Jorginho. Back to Koulibaly again. So much of the play going through Jorginho in the heart of the Chelsea midfield at the moment, but it's Edouard Mendy currently on the ball, just in front of the D, near to his own penalty area, laying it off for Koulibaly to play it forward. Mason Mount caught in possession though, dispossessed by Romero, and then Koulibaly comes sliding across, won it really well, and finds Loftus-Cheek, who in turn will pick out Raheem Sterling wide left, advancing to the edge of the penalty area here. Sterling has support from Cucurella outside and goes infield instead, then gets the shot away. It's charged down by Højbjerg. Little glance in the referee's direction by Sterling as to what it came off, but Højbjerg was able to clear it away fairly convincingly, and Sterling maybe had other options there.
Yeah, Sterling, I think, as soon as he got the opportunity to cut inside his right foot, was looking to bend it towards the far corner. I think everyone in the penalty area knew exactly what he was trying to do, and Højbjerg was able to get the block in.
Half an hour in, Chelsea 1, Spurs 0. Chelsea with the throw, level with the edge of the Tottenham Hotspur penalty area. There was a foul from behind by Bentancur on Jorginho, and he was actually going away from goal back towards his own half when the contact came. Free kick taken quickly by Koulibaly. Now Thiago Silva inside the centre circle. Reece James to his right. Infield towards Jorginho. Chelsea utterly dominant in possession. A little bit of room here for Mason Mount, picking it up in that pocket of space and driving forward to the edge of the penalty area. Playing in Cucurella wide on the left. Forced him a little wider than he might have liked, actually. Was looking then in turn to nudge it back down the line for Mason Mount. He was caught and he's rolling around on the floor. It was Kulusevski, I think, that made the contact. Going to be another free kick here for Chelsea in a promising position.
Yeah, I don't think it's a yellow card, because I think he just gets there a little late. It's not the worst challenge in the world, but certainly a free kick. Another opportunity for Chelsea to put the ball in the box.
Well, hoping to get off to a winning start at Stamford Bridge this season. They actually won only 9 of their 19 home games in the previous campaign. They took 6 more points on their travels than they did in this part of West London. Only once last season did they fail to score at home, and they already have the opening goal of this one. Koulibaly, the scorer of it, is one of those that has ventured forward to try and make the free kick. Cucurella standing to the right of the ball, Reece James to the left of it, Kulusevski and Son in a 2-man Tottenham wall on the edge of the penalty area, and then everybody else defending in and around the box. It's going to be left for Cucurella, left-footed. It's not a good one. Didn't beat the first line of defence really, who was Højbjerg. James will try and return it though for Kai Havertz, who was able to wrap his left boot around that, return it into the penalty area without too much conviction, and it's comfortably cleared away by Spurs for the throw, but they're struggling really to get into Chelsea territory at any stage of the game. Here's Cucurella with the throw, Mason Mount infield. And in these conditions, the amount of chasing that Spurs are having to do without the ball, maybe energy zapping a little bit later as the game goes on. Chelsea are making the ball work for them.
They are,
right
yeah.
now.
I mean, Tottenham are sat in. I mean, they're not running particularly long distances, but they're having to shift from one side of the pitch to the other quite a lot. Chelsea comfortable in possession. Let's give it away as soon as I say that, of course, but but they're just pinning Spurs back, and Spurs find it very difficult to get out of their own half.
Case in point here, Emerson Royal facing his own goal, coming under pressure first from Havertz and then from Mason Mount. Romero had to step in for Spurs. Hugo Lloris was able to come and gather it in the end, trying to earn them a little bit of respite. Spurs need a foothold really from somewhere, and there to give themselves any way of getting back into this game. Barely mentioned the likes of Son and Kane in an attacking sense at any stage yet, have we?
They haven't really had any quality into their feet at all.
Little period of Tottenham possession here, albeit currently inside their own half, before Eric Dyer opts to go long. He was trying to ping that in the general direction of Ryan Sessegnon, who was the furthest advance down that left-hand side, but it was comfortably gathered up by Mendy. Wasn't extended by that. And now the long ball from Chelsea is aimed for Raheem Sterling. Lloris had read the danger. His starting position was such that he was just able to stretch out both arms and take that off the head of Raheem Sterling. Bentancur now to Romero for Tottenham Hotspur. On their right-hand side, Emerson Royal, 34 minutes played. Chelsea still leading by that goal to nil. Kulusevski trying to find Emerson Royal. Cucurella is in the way, unable to clear from the byline for Chelsea. Little flick from Mason Mount back in field, taking the ball from Havertz, and Mount was then caught, not for the first time in this first half. The referee still keeps his cards in his pocket.
Bentancur, probably that will be his last one before a yellow card comes out, his third or fourth foul. Good footwork from Mason Mount, jinking one way then the other, just dragging Bentancur into the foul.
Reece James trying to play an expansive ball with the outside of the boot inside his own half. Saw that deflected away from its intended target, but Chelsea are able to pick up the pieces. Mount was looking for the run of Kai Havertz, guarded back by Dyer to Hugo Lloris, and he will roll it out to his left for Ben Davies. Back to the goalkeeper again, but this time the Tottenham possession is inside their own penalty area, spreading it out to the right touchline, where Romero has the time to bring it down. Back for Dyer again. Impressive, as you mentioned, Chris, last season, and then starting with a rare goal against Southampton last weekend. Sessegnon, a scorer that day, is on the charge here. Loftus-Cheek had gone with him, had to stretch to commit to the challenge, but got a foot in. Back for Mendy to clear, which he does to halfway. Havertz with a header, looking for Mason Mount ahead of him. Touch for Højbjerg when it was loose in midfield though, and now Kulusevski to run towards the Chelsea penalty area. Emerson Royal forward from full back in support down that right hand side. Cucurella standing off him, and the cross comes in from Emerson Royal. It's comfortably gathered up on his near post by Mendy.
It's positive from Emerson Royal though. 1v1 against Cucurella, gets to the byline, tries to whip a low cross in, but just doesn't get the accuracy on the cross.
A lot of talk about Spurs bringing in a new right wing back for this season. They still might, of course, the window open until the end of the month, but Emerson Royal has started the season impressively, ahead of Matt Doherty in the pecking order, as Chelsea look for Sterling here. Sessegnon back doing his defensive duties, but Sterling is able to retrieve it on the edge of the penalty area, looking for support and options in blue. Picks the pass in the end for Jorginho to Mason Mount, edge of the box now. Mount on the right foot, got underneath it. It's sat up for him to strike it. Maybe it just bounced a fraction high before he did swing that boot at the ball, and it's comfortably cleared the crossbar.
Worked the opportunity so well, Chelsea, there, didn't they? Ball back in. Jorginho finds Mason Mount, cuts inside, opens the goal up, looking to bend it in the far corner, and he just leans back as he hits it, and it goes over the crossbar. Fully expecting him to hit the target there.
He scored 11 times in the Premier League last season. Mason Mount, close but not close enough to opening his account for the campaign. Risky ball here from Romero. Reece James has won it against Harry Kane inside the Spurs half. Kane having to drop deeper to try and influence the game, but he's required in a defensive capacity once more at the moment. That has been the case for much of the match, as Cucurella plays it into the feet of Mason Mount, drifting in from the left hand side. Central role again is Jorginho. Bentancur snapping at his heels, but it's Reece James, disguised the ball, shaped for the shot. He's played in Ruben Loftus-Cheek instead. Amazing run in the box, and then one touch too many as he tried to create a sight of goal for himself there, Loftus-Cheek. In the end, Spurs are able to scramble it clear only as far as Thiago Silva. Koulibaly on halfway, and Chelsea will come again.
Spurs are just hanging in there though, aren't they? They're hanging in there. You do feel a second Chelsea goal now before half time could be so crucial. This is a big 7-8 minutes in this match.
They are pushing for a second, aren't they, before the break, the Blues here. Thiago Silva on the ball inside the Spurs half. Jorginho collecting possession from him. N'Golo Kanté returns it to the vastly experienced Brazilian. Seems to get better with age, if that's possible. Thiago Silva, and he's set to remain a key figure at the back despite his advancing years. N'Golo Kanté taking over. Finding James wide on the right. Jorginho, first time ball is a good one. Mason Mount just not quite going to get there as Eric Dyer came across on the cover. Dyer's attempted clearance, charged down by Mason Mount, who is everywhere at the moment.
He's got such energy, isn't he, with the ball, without the ball. He makes those runs. You know, he'll go and close people down. Chelsea look really up for this. It's a massive step up from their performance at Everton last week, just in terms of tempo and desire and everything that this London derby means.
Yeah, so much better from them so far. It's always a game that they get up for, though. It means so much to both clubs. Not just early season Premier League points at stake today. Certainly not for the supporters. The players seem to have that mindset as well, given the way that it's begun. But it is Chelsea who have imposed themselves in the first 39 minutes of the match, leading by that Kalidou Koulibaly goal to nil. Touch for Mount. It maybe fortunately fell at the feet of N'Golo Kanté, but he may well be able to make the most of it. Helping it on to Kai Havertz. Still has it. Right side of the penalty area. Showed a bit too much of it to Sessegnon as Davies had initially come across.
I think that's a corner. I think the linesman gives a goal kick. I think it's a corner, yep. Referee overrules the linesman.
Havertz clearly felt so. He was right in the assistant referee's face there, wasn't he? But I think the correct conclusion has been come to. Just having a look on our monitor, and it struck the left boot of Sessegnon on its way behind. So another chance for Chelsea from the set piece to come here as we head towards the final 5 minutes of this first half, which has flown by on Premier League Live. Chelsea leading it by that goal to nil. Koulibaly 20 minutes into the match. This goal the difference so far. Again, he's ventured forward for this, as has Thiago Silva. Chris mentioned the excellent goal scoring record he had in this fixture last season. No shortage of targets in blue. As the corner comes in from the right hand side, headed away though by Eric Dyer. Son collects it on the edge of his own box, resisted the temptation to launch it clear. Instead he set off on a surge forward and was halted unfairly and unceremoniously by Reece James. And no surprise to see the yellow card come out for that one.
The yellow card had to come out there. Reece James, that is the absolute definition of a professional foul. Son, brilliant running with the ball, was going to go and make it a 2v2 against Kanté and Cucurella at the back. Son and Kulusevski. Reece James just drags him to the floor, takes the yellow card, but Chelsea maintain that lead.
It shows, I think, the esteem in which they hold Son, doesn't he? That he felt he had to make that challenge midway inside the Spurs half, where Son really still was at that stage, but since he did have space to run into behind him, if afforded the opportunity, James decided he couldn't take the chance. So he's the first name into the book. There's Havertz with Loftus-Cheek in support down the right for Chelsea. Keeps it in play on the byline. Ben Davies closing down his options. N'Golo Kanté takes over and also reaches the byline before trying to pull back the cross, which is deflected behind. It's another Chelsea corner.
Really on top. A lot of the good players coming down that right hand side for Chelsea. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Reece James getting forward, and N'Golo Kanté getting forward down that side of the pitch. And you feel that they've really targeted Sessegnon almost, you know, as the inexperienced one in that back five to have a go at. Just wonder if Perisic might come on at half time.
You would anticipate Tottenham changes sooner rather than later, wouldn't you, the way that it's gone thus far in the first half. Here comes the corner kick again then from the Chelsea right. It's Højbjerg away, who's the first line of defence on the near post, meeting Mason Mount's delivery. Mount might still get a foot to it though, looking for Thiago Silva. He got to the bouncing ball just ahead of Harry Kane. Sessegnon winning it against Jorginho in the air. N'Golo Kanté deftly done on the touchline to keep the ball in play and keep possession for Chelsea, who get the ball back from Havertz down the line. Returns it to Reece James.
Kanté and Jorginho have been absolutely outstanding in this first half for Chelsea. They have run that midfield.
Yeah, utterly dominant in that part of the pitch, those two. Kovacic was on the bench last week, not actually even involved today. More depth in that position for Chelsea. They return it to Edouard Mendy. They do have so many attacking options, Chelsea, in reserve for later as well if required, but they'll be content with how it's gone thus far, certainly, with the slight exception maybe of having failed yet to score that second goal. Referee plays the advantage here. There was a foul, I think, on Jorginho, but the Blues still on the ball. Reece James wide right, advancing into the Spurs half. Loftus-Cheek ahead of him. Back to James again, now N'Golo Kanté. Spurs have had time to get pretty much everybody back behind the ball again as Kanté goes crossfield to Cucurella. Infield to Koulibaly. He plays it forward first time off the outside of the right boot for Raheem Sterling, reaching it ahead of Romero, who's snapping at his heels, restricting his room. Cucurella goes back down the line. Koulibaly. So we advance into the final 90 seconds of the first 45 minutes. N'Golo Kanté. This really has been the pattern throughout this first half. Chelsea on the ball, playing in the Spurs half. Tottenham with pretty much everybody back behind the ball. There is a case to say they do get in just one behind, and they might not be too dissatisfied with that, given how the way the game has gone anyway. Koulibaly forward here, but Chelsea haven't given up the second yet before the break. Raheem Sterling going through the gears, moving into the penalty area, showed too much of it to Emerson Royale, but he does have support from Cucurella, who comes away with this for Chelsea. Finds Jorginho, first time ball forward, it's a dangerous one as well, looking for Loftus-Cheek, who rose against Sessegnon and just couldn't quite make contact with the ball. It's a good delivery in towards him. It's the right run as well from Loftus-Cheek. They just couldn't quite put it all together.
I actually feel that Loftus-Cheek just mistimes his jump a little bit here. He goes a little bit too early. It's like he doesn't quite judge the flight. It's a beautiful ball from Jorginho, and he just misses it. He should head that. Thomas Tuchel hands to his head. He thinks the same, I think.
He'd done everything right in getting himself in that position, hadn't he? It was there to be headed in. He went to head it in and just missed it. Yeah. Right on 45 minutes now, so we'll see how much there will be to add on. We've had the drinks break, of course, so 3 further minutes of stoppage time at the end of this first half. Still just the 1 goal in it. Chelsea leading Tottenham on the Premier League Live. Eric Dyer on the ball inside the Spurs half here. Spurs team in the calendar year coming into today have taken 44 points. Only Liverpool and Manchester City with more. They're the top scorers actually in 2022 in the Premier League so far going into this weekend, but precious few sights of goal for Spurs so far today. There's Dyer again, almost inside the centre circle when the ball was played into his feet. He will go all the way back to Hugo Lloris, and I think Spurs will probably take this scoreline, won't they, at this stage?
I think they have to. I think they'll be fortunate if they get in at 1-0 down. They really will. Sessegnon, for me, find it really difficult to deal with Ruben Loftus-Cheek. It's been genius from Thomas Tuchel. He hasn't got the strength to deal with Sessegnon physically. He hasn't been able to deal with the power of Sessegnon. Loftus-Cheek has got fantastic feet, and you know, I think it's a change, an area that Spurs need to change in the second half, maybe.
Yeah, Loftus-Cheek has been relishing that role on the right. He's back on his feet here. I mean, James hasn't been a centre-back, really, has he?
No, he's
kind of hybrid role.
But because Chelsea have dominated the ball, and the Spurs have allowed them to by putting 10 men behind the ball all the time, it just meant that Reece James can go and play exactly where he wants to.
Here comes Chelsea again. A little flick by Sterling, was looking for Mason Mount. Mount might have found Mount, but for the intervention of Eric Dyer. Now to play for the Chelsea throw.
I'd like to see Spurs be a little bit more adventurous in the second half and play probably 20 yards further up the pitch and try and put Chelsea under pressure higher up the pitch, because if they carry on the way they're going, the only way they're going to score is going to be a counter-attack.
Well, Chelsea's first half dominance continuing a theme from last season. They didn't trail at half-time in a single game in the Premier League in the previous campaign. They only conceded 10 goals in the first half of matches to Chelsea last season, and they haven't really looked in danger of conceding one today. But we're in the last minute of the 3 added on at the end of the half now. Koulibaly's excellent effort, all they have to show for their dominance. This is Højbjerg for Spurs to Son, now just inside the Chelsea half. Ryan Sessegnon wide left, Reece James with him, so he goes back infield to Højbjerg, who has Mason Mount for company, snapping at his heels, not affording him any time on the ball. Ben Davies goes back to Dyer, and now he will spread it to Romero as the Three Spurs centre-backs combine in possession. Romero has threaded it through for Harry Kane. He was looking for Son. Loftus-Cheek missed the initial clearance because it went straight up in the air. To an extent, so too did the second one. Went a lot higher in the air this time. And when it comes down, Edouard Mendy is able to gather it up, and that will be that for a first half in which Chelsea have been dominant against their derby rivals. And they have a slender 1-0 lead to show for that dominance. A wonderful goal 20 minutes in, a first in English football for the Senegalese centre-back Kalidou Koulibaly. That is the difference at the break in a match that Chelsea have had much the better of. Half-time here. It is Chelsea 1, Tottenham Hotspur 0. You are listening to Premier League Live.
Previously on White and Jordan.
Well, we didn't budget for this money. Surely we want to give it to our lesser cousins. Yes, and the moon's made of cheese, right?
Clash of the Simon.
The modern day fairy tale today in English football almost inevitably involves money.
There's no such thing as a no-score draw.
But this will be an exercise in goodwill. Something that the Premier League is bereft of.
How biased is Trevor? Sort it out. Seriously, sort it out.
White and Jordan.
The nation's primary destination for a triple distilled opinion and blistering debate.
Weekday mornings from 10 on the world-famous Talk Sport.
Times Radio.
I'm Mariella Frostrup. Join me as I talk to renowned guests about the worlds of culture, lifestyle and entertainment.
Including Sir Michael Palin.
Python's always been, I think, a nice mix. It's about human behaviour and what we do and how we sort of mess ourselves up.
And Werner Herzog.
When you look at family romance, it's a deeply humanistic film. It is a very essential of my films.
From auteurs to icons, artists to activists. Join me, Mariella Frostrup, for the radio show dedicated to exploring the ideas that shape our times.
Mariella Frostrup.
Monday to Thursday afternoons from 1
on Times Radio.
Stories of our times from the Times and the Sunday Times.
One agenda-setting story told in depth by experts.
I'm Manveen Rana.
I'm David Aronovich. Go beyond the headlines with original quality journalism and exclusive interviews.
What happens in the next year may define this country for the next 40 years.
We take you to the heart of the stories that matter. With exclusive access and reporting, you'll hear from the best and most informed journalists from the UK's most trusted newspaper. It's published for the start of your day, and you can listen for free on the Times Radio app or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search The Stories of Our Times.
John Pienaar at Drive, Monday to Thursday afternoon from 4 on Times Radio.
We're going to be talking about the news. We're going to be discussing it and explaining it.
Join John Pienaar for the Drive Time show dedicated to the news that matters and the views that need to be heard.
I'm going to give people the time and space to tell us what they think. And I'm not going to tell you what to think. I'm going to help you make up your mind.
Trusted news, insight and opinion that speaks for itself. John Pienaar at Drive.
4 to 7, Monday to Thursday.
On Times Radio.
Hey, I'm Brian Dunseth from SiriusXM-FC. Every Monday, join Tom Rennie and me as we go all around the soccer world on our podcast, Week in the Tackle.
Enter our private circle.
From the significant...
There is a lot of reason to think they are going to win this tournament.
...to the absurd.
This little car comes on, like...
We cover the soccer stories we find interesting on Week in the Tackle. Available for free on Stitcher or your favorite podcast platform.
We are at half-time at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea leading Spurs by a goal to nil. It's been a dominant first-half showing from the home team, but still just a slender lead at this stage. Here is the story so far. N'Golo Conte skips into space, prodded into the path of Sterling wide right, infield again, hit for Havertz, they hit it, and it's a fraction wide of the far post. Well, they did open up Spurs that time. Wonderful football from Chelsea in the build-up, and Havertz just couldn't quite find the finish.
That's actually a brilliant save from Hugo Lloris. Gets his right foot to it, sticks it out. Fantastic save.
Cucurella will take for Chelsea as they try and keep the pressure on here. Delivers it left-footed, and it's thumped in. Koulibaly up from the back to introduce himself to the Chelsea fans. On his debut at Stamford Bridge, on only his second ever appearance in English football, Kalidou Koulibaly, brought in to bolster the Blues' back line, is a Premier League goal scorer, and Chelsea lead against Spurs.
Fully on the volley with his right foot, beautiful technique, opens his body up, and he can't hit this any better off the laces. This is sensational. Absolutely sensational finish from Kalidou Koulibaly. They bought him for his defending, but that is brilliant.
And that goal remains the difference, coming just inside the first 20 minutes of the match. Took something special, Chris Perry, to separate them, but Chelsea will feel it is the least that they've deserved on the evidence of that first half showing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the goal was brilliant, but it was coming. Chelsea started slowly, but they worked their way into the game, and probably from 10 minutes on, they were dominant in terms of possession. They were pinning Spurs back in their own half. They were probing from side to side, and they worked the opportunities to get corners and deliveries into the box, and the delivery from Cucurella was absolutely spot on. How you leave Kalidou Koulibaly unmarked in your penalty box, I'm not quite sure, and there should be an inquiry into that in the Spurs dressing room right now, but I don't think anyone expected a finish of that quality. No. You know, the way he opened his body up, it was an awkward height to volley, but he controlled it so well, and it was brilliantly finished.
It was an excellent ball in. It was, as you say, a wonderful finish, but there'll still be plenty that Antonio Conte will be unhappy about that goal, won't there?
Yeah, as I say, he's completely unmarked. He watches the ball all the way. There's not even anyone in his eye line. The only person in his eye line is actually Raheem Sterling, who does his best to block it for Spurs, but manages just get out of the way. But yeah, as I said, not good marking from Spurs, but then Chelsea dominated after that, and Spurs are a little bit fortunate that they go in at half-time, only one goal behind. Chelsea have knocked on the door a few times and come close.
They've defended since then with discipline of Spurs to keep it at just the one goal and keep their shape behind the ball, I guess, but it's not how they want this game to continue. They're going to have to be more expansive at some stage if they're to get something out of it. When is that stage, do you think, and what does Conte do at half-time?
It's an interesting one for Antonio Conte, because he does like to sit back, defend in numbers and hit teams on the counter-attack, but Chelsea have been really good. Apart from that one opportunity when Son was fouled by Reece James, Spurs haven't even looked a threat on the counter-attack, because Chelsea have been able to keep the attacks alive so well and pin Spurs back. And you just feel that, certainly I don't think it'll be in the first 15 minutes of the second half, but maybe with half an hour, 70 minutes gone, Conte might have to change it up a bit and start to play a little bit differently than the way he has done.
Thomas Tuchel, on the other hand, we've mentioned this remarkable record that he's got, winning every game as a manager against Spurs. That the tactical switch, playing Loftus-Cheek, we touched on it in commentary, on the right-hand side, has worked wonderfully well, hasn't it?
Really, really well. It has, yeah. I mean, as I mentioned, he really has had one over on Ryan Sessegnon. Ryan Sessegnon has struggled with Ruben Loftus-Cheek's physicality, his pace, his skill, his ability, and the fact that he got in at the far post and he just mistimed his header. But I think Chelsea have been looking for that from the first minute. They've been looking for that ball over to Ruben Loftus-Cheek, thinking there's a weakness there. Ruben Loftus-Cheek up against Ryan Sessegnon. That's a complete mismatch in the air at the back post. And they really have used it well. It's allowed Reece James as well to step forward and not play as a right-sided centre-back. He's almost playing as a wing-back at times.
Yeah, it's been excellent from Chelsea thus far, but still just that one goal in it. So let's see what the second half has in store. That is coming up very shortly. It is the second game of this Premier League Sunday. Let's get the details on the early kick-off at the City Ground. Home return to the top flight for Nottingham Forest was one to remember, at home to West Ham United, with the details on commentator Alex Crook.
Nottingham Forest 1, West Ham 0. Forest picking up their first Premier League win in 23 years, courtesy of record signing Taiwo Awoniyi's goal in first half stoppage time. The Nigerian bundling home from close range after Jesse Lingard had scuffed his initial shot. But that only tells half the story of an action-packed game in which both teams had goals ruled out by VAR. Saeed Benrahma thought he slotted West Ham in front before the official spotted a foul by Mikel Antonio on Orel Mangala. Forest also had the ball in the net a second time, but Brennan Johnson had strayed just offside. West Ham hit the woodwork on no fewer than 3 occasions, and they missed a gilt-edged opportunity to rescue at least a point when England midfielder Declan Rice saw his penalty in the second half saved by international teammate Dean Henderson. Disappointment for the Hammers then, back-to-back defeats at the start of the season for them, but scenes of jubilant celebration at the City Ground. Nottingham Forest 1, West Ham 0.
That was the result from earlier today. There's one more match this Premier League weekend on the Monday night football. That is Liverpool taking on Crystal Palace, and we can hear from Jurgen Klopp. All the eyes there will be on that partnership between Mo Salah and the new boy Darwin Núñez.
Two players who are determined to score and be in the decisive areas, coming behind the line, wherever the line is very helpful. Mo is in a really good moment. So, and Darwin is settling in. So, I think Lewis just missed a goal, if you want. Really good moments, really good situation. Two chances. One was post, I think, or crossbar, and then got blocked by in another situation. So, a little bit of luck, and he scored. That would help him as well massively. But apart from that, so that was this department was not our problem at last weekend.
Well, that is tomorrow night. Liverpool at home to Crystal Palace. You can hear full commentary right here. Tom Rennie and Dean Hammond will be your commentary team for that one, the fixture that rounds off the second weekend of matches in the Premier League. But it remains in the balance at the Bridge in our live game today. The second half coming up shortly of Chelsea against Spurs. Just the one goal in it so far. Kalidou Koulibaly on his home debut for Chelsea with a wonderful goal. That is the difference between the teams at the moment. But a big 45 minutes still to come. Chelsea leading by 1-0. You are listening to Premier League Live.
Previously on White and Jordan.
Well, we didn't budget for this money. Surely we want to give it to our lesser cousins. Yes, and the moon's made of cheese, right?
Clash of the Simon.
The modern day fairy tale today in English football almost inevitably involves money.
There's no such thing as a no-score draw.
But this will be an exercise in goodwill. Something that the Premier League is bereft of.
How biased is Trevor? Sort it out. Seriously, sort it out.
White and Jordan.
The nation's primary destination for a triple distilled opinion and blistering debate.
Weekday mornings from 10 on the world-famous Talk Sport.
Times Radio.
I'm Mariella Frostrup. Join me as I talk to renowned guests about the worlds of culture, lifestyle and entertainment.
Including Sir Michael Palin.
Python's always been, I think, a nice mix. It's about human behaviour and what we do and how we sort of mess ourselves up.
And Werner Herzog.
When you look at family romance, it's a deeply humanistic film. It is a very essential of my films.
From auteurs to icons, artists to activists. Join me, Mariella Frostrup, for the radio show dedicated to exploring the ideas that shape our times.
Mariella Frostrup.
Monday to Thursday afternoons from 1
on Times Radio.
Stories of our times from the Times and the Sunday Times.
One agenda-setting story told in depth by experts.
I'm Manveen Rana.
I'm David Aronovich. Go beyond the headlines with original quality journalism and exclusive interviews.
What happens in the next year may define this country for the next 40 years.
We take you to the heart of the stories that matter. With exclusive access and reporting, you'll hear from the best and most informed journalists from the UK's most trusted newspaper. It's published for the start of your day, and you can listen for free on the Times Radio app or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search The Stories of Our Times.
John Pienaar at Drive, Monday to Thursday afternoon from 4 on Times Radio.
We're going to be talking about the news. We're going to be discussing it and explaining it.
Join John Pienaar for the Drive Time show dedicated to the news that matters and the views that need to be heard.
I'm going to give people the time and space to tell us what they think, and I'm not going to tell you what to think. I'm going to help you make up your mind.
Trusted news, insight and opinion that speaks for itself. John Pienaar at Drive,
4 to 7, Monday to Thursday
on Times Radio.
Hey, I'm Brian Dunseth from SiriusXM-FC. Every Monday, join Tom Rennie and me as we go all around the soccer world on our podcast, Week in the Tackle.
Enter our private circle.
From the significant...
There is a lot of reason to think they are going to win this tournament.
...to the absurd.
This little car comes on, like...
We cover the soccer stories we find interesting on Week in the Tackle. Available for free on Stitcher or your favorite podcast platform.
You're listening to TalkSport's coverage of Chelsea against Tottenham Hotspur from Stamford Bridge. I'm your host, Phil Blacker. Alongside me is the former Tottenham defender, Chris Perry. This is Premier League Live. And Chelsea are leading Spurs by 1-0 at the break at the Bridge. We're just waiting for the teams to re-emerge for the second half. They're separated by a stunning strike from Kalidou Koulibaly. on his Stamford Bridge debut for Chelsea. Stunning strike from their new number 26, the first to wear that number here since John Terry. It's been quite some start, Chris Perry, for him, and it's provided Chelsea with a platform to try and push on from, but their lead is still a slender one.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference between Antonio Conte's Spurs and some of the previous Spurs teams that have come to Stamford Bridge. Is they haven't let in that second goal, they haven't succumbed to the pressure, and they're still in this game, and with some of the players they've got on this pitch, they can still turn this around, and the belief will still be there that they can go and win this game. But it's going to be very difficult if Chelsea come out and dominate the ball as well as they did in that first half.
Yeah, let's see as the teams re-emerge. Spurs going back to at the end of last season have won their last 4 Premier League matches. They haven't won 5 in a row actually since December of 2018. And Mauricio Pochettino, it would be quite some turnaround though if they were to be able to do that today. They're getting set to get the second half started. I will remind you of the lineups very shortly as Harry Kane kicks us off again. Spurs in the white shirts, blue shorts and blue socks from right to left in this second period against Chelsea in the familiar blue. Koulibaly, the goal scorer, is on the ball here and launches it long left-footed from the edge of his own penalty area. Chelsea with Edouard Mendy in goal. Thiago Silva, Koulibaly and Reece James at the back, with Loftus-Cheek playing in that wing-back role. Marc Cucurella on the other side is impressed as well. N'Golo Kanté and Jorginho of boss midfield. Mason Mount, Kai Havertz supporting Raheem Sterling. This is Loftus-Cheek, who skips away from Ben Davies. Højbjerg comes across, but Havertz here is able to pick up the pieces and takes on the backpedaling Eric Dyer, rolls it into the penalty area where Romero is able to clear it, but Loftus-Cheek keeps it in and will run it back here at Sessegnon and Spurs. He has support from Havertz. Havertz from the byline delivers the cross, headed behind. Not quite out of play by Bentancur because Davis was able to get to that first, but Chelsea still have it. It's picked up in almost exactly the same manner in which much of the first half was played, with Chelsea in the ascendancy, on top, dominating possession, coming forward here with Raheem Sterling. Emerson Royal steps in and thumps it out of play. Well, we've had the turnaround since half-time, but not much else it appears yet has changed, Chris.
Absolutely not. Some Spurs subs warming up on the sideline. Richarlison one of them, Perisic another. I do feel that they will have to make changes if it carries on in this game because Chelsea are so dominant.
Conte has resisted the temptation to switch it up at the interval, but yeah, surely won't be long before he does so. They've got Lloris in goal, Romero, Dyer and Davis, the back three. And Kulusevski here on the ball, cutting an isolated figure, but he did carry the ball a good few yards down that right hand side before eventually being dispossessed. Cucurella getting a foot in. Emerson Royal has it again, couldn't hold on to it though. Emerson Royal and Sessegnon the wing backs for Spurs. Bentancur and Højbjerg in the middle. Kulusevski, Son and Kane, a less frequently mentioned front three than usual for Spurs so far today. I'll remind you of who's on the bench in a moment as well, but this is Rodrigo Bentancur for Tottenham as they try and turn things around here. Harry Kane in towards Son, he's going to reach it. Mendy having not got there, but then was in a position to make the save when Son on the stretch attempted to turn it back goalwards.
Yeah, it's the first time Harry Kane's got the ball in space, plays the ball over the top of Reece James. Son running away from goal. I think he almost kicks it with his right foot onto his left foot here and doesn't get the connection that he wants. No, it's on his left foot, he's trying to cut it back across goal and he doesn't get the connection with the laces that he's looking for.
Didn't connect as intended, did he? And now Conte tries to spring Loftus-Cheek through the middle as the game opens up a little bit. It's just a reminder though to Chelsea, isn't it, for all the excellent work that they've done so far, how quickly it can be undone against opposition like this.
Son and Kane combination can hit you at any time in the game and you really have to be on your mettle for the whole 90 minutes here, Chelsea.
And for all that first half dominance, I was looking at the stats from the first period. Chelsea only with 2 attempts on target in the game, despite 68% of the possession. It was played very much in the Spurs half. So they couldn't add to Koulibaly's goal, and they've already been served, as I mentioned, that little reminder as to the fragility of their lead. But they're back on the front foot here. Harry Kane back defending his own penalty area just at the moment, but it was he who was able to play that pass to Son as the ball goes in towards Kai Havertz. Where's it going to bounce? Nobody quite with control of it. Conte eventually comes away with it, forced away from goal. Reece James will have a hit. So blocked by Højbjerg. Kane can't hold on to it. Thiago Silva for Chelsea. Well inside the Spurs half here, he and Koulibaly combine. And now Cucurella on the left-hand side, Jorginho infield, back to Thiago Silva again. He's inside the centre circle when picking up possession this time, and he finds Reece James, shifts it back infield. N'Golo Kanté and Jorginho, those two continuing to see plenty of the possession. Cucurella infield, he was looking for Mason Mount, cut out by Kulusevski though. And now Emerson Royal is on the charge, goes shoulder to shoulder with Cucurella. Two former Barcelona fullbacks in direct opposition, and it was Cucurella who got the better of that duel.
Yeah, Cucurella just more determined to get to the ball, showed really good pace, outrun Emerson Royal and outstrengthened him too.
Romero on halfway with the challenge on Mason Mount, won the ball, but Spurs aren't able to hold on to it. Thiago Silva finds Reece James just inside his own half. He will clip it down the line for Loftus-Cheek. Davis came across and looked to be a little shove from behind on Loftus-Cheek, who's gone down and does now get the decision against Davis.
I think it's a little bit soft, this one. I think Loftus-Cheek buys this one a little bit, but it's clumsy from Ben Davis. Can't be going over there and giving him the opportunity to go down. Another opportunity for Chelsea to put the ball into the box.
Yeah, it was the position really from which the contact was made, wasn't it, that led to the award of the free kick. Again in a useful position this for Chelsea. 5.5 minutes into the second half, they're leading Tottenham Hotspur by 1-0, as they have done since the 19th minute of the match. Cucurella again has come across to get involved in the conversation. He and Reece James stand over it. Cucurella is going to leave it for James to whip it in right-footed, headed clear by Pierre-Emile Højbjerg for Spurs. We've seen that a few times actually. They've not been able to beat the first man.
Delivery hasn't been great. Certainly Cucurella most of the ones in the first half, but Reece James you expect better from.
Loftus-Cheek rising to try and win it in the air as the ball is launched long in his direction, and then Sessegnon going down under pressure from Kai Havertz. The assistant referee is right there.
Yeah, and I think if they just gave the free kick for the foul on Ruben Loftus-Cheek, they're always going to give that foul. It's very similar, in a very similar position actually on Ryan Sessegnon, so
consistency from the officials on that occasion. And there's Emerson Royal on the other side, the Spurs right, and then he'd stop and was clutching the side of his face even before the referee's whistle had gone, but it has now gone against Mason Mount. Didn't appear an awful lot in that one.
No, he made a lot of it, didn't he, Emerson Royal?
A very animated Antonio Conte on the edge of his technical area, arms outstretched, issuing instructions, imparting observations, as he has done throughout the course of the game, but no obvious turnaround from Tottenham in terms of the pattern of play yet, as Thiago Silva is forced back to Loftus-Cheek, but those two combine in a tight spot on the edge of the penalty area and locate Reece James, who looked like he got away from Højbjerg, was being pulled back again. The referee's let it go though, because Chelsea have the ball, and Mason Mount now moves into the Spurs half. Cucurella takes over in a wider position, cutting in from that left-hand side. He's gone back infield, just slowing it down a little bit to Jorginho, and he will roll it short and square to his right for Loftus-Cheek. He's found a little bit of space here, primarily because Spurs have everybody in the white shirts back behind the ball again, including Harry Kane inside his own half. Koulibaly forward. Mason Mount was looking for Raheem Sterling. Kulusevski in the way. Emerson Royal forward, cut out again by Koulibaly. And now Cucurella takes a couple of touches and advances towards the edge of the penalty area. Give and go with Raheem Sterling. Cucurella trying to pull back the cross. He's prevented from doing so by the sliding challenge on the byline from Christian Romero. But further evidence of Cucurella being able to influence the game going forward as well.
It's really easy for Chelsea at the moment to find space between the lines to receive, and then they've always got someone looking to break the line and go in behind. This time it was Cucurella, well defended by Romero.
Corner taken short by Marc Cucurella. 53 on the clock. Sterling tries to clip in the cross. Eric Dyer rising to head it partially clear. Sterling still making a nuisance of himself. This time it's cleared out only as far as Mason Mount, and he will hoist it back in. It was awkward for a moment for Lloris there. Looked like Mount had overhit it, but just for a split second or so, Lloris thought that might be dipping under his crossbar and couldn't take the chance, helping it onto the roof of the net.
Certainly a cross from Mason Mount that he just skewed off his left foot and was awkward for Hugo Lloris. Had to help it over the crossbar.
Goes behind as a result for the corner kick here, which Marc Cucurella is waiting to take. Left-footed from the Chelsea left, slightly deeper delivery this time. Koulibaly wasn't able to return it instantly, but he had found a little bit of space again on that far post and kept it in play for N'Golo Kanté to deliver the cross, which is cleared behind by Davies.
Yeah, it's constant Chelsea pressure at the moment, isn't it? Spurs really can't get a foothold in this game.
The pattern of the first half continues in the first 10 minutes of the second half on Premier League Live. Chelsea 1, Spurs 0. Koulibaly's goal remains the difference. Another opportunity to come here from another Chelsea set piece. They're beginning to tot up. Certainly Mason Mount's going to take the corner this time from their right hand side. Sterling and Jorginho and Loftus-Cheek are all in a line on the edge of the 6-yard box, but they're outnumbered by white shirts as Mount delivers with some pace. It's headed out to Cucurella on the edge of the box. Did try and get the shot away. Right-footed effort charged down again as soon as it left his boot by Bentancur. And it's out as far as Reece James in the centre circle. He will try and return it towards that left-hand side. Kai Havertz helping it on. Jorginho gets a touch and gets it back from Havertz. Now Sterling, corner of the box. Eric Dyer with him. Dyer got his foot in. Still no respite for Spurs. And they are going to make a change. Richarlison is being readied. Just currently receiving his final instructions in what will be his debut. Wasn't quite ready against Southampton last weekend. Brought in from Everton in the summer. Certainly adds strength to the squad, and they need to find a spark in the side from somewhere at Stamford Bridge this Sunday.
Or do you think Kulusevski would probably make sense? Hasn't really got into the game today. You want to leave Harry Kane and Heung-min Son on the pitch, don't you, if you're going to get back into the game?
He would be the favourite to come off. Went excellent at home to Southampton last weekend, but
he's been excellent since he's come.
Yeah,
he's been really good signing.
5 goals he got last season, opened his account already against the Saints, but hasn't really got into this game. Chelsea again, press and probe from the short corner this time. N'Golo Kanté's ball in is cleared by Ben Davies. Back towards Kanté, further away by Bentancur this time. Thiago Silva meets it on halfway, but a head tennis currently going on. Emerson Royal and Jorginho taking their respective turns before Jorginho takes a tumble and wins Chelsea the free kick just inside the Spurs half.
Bentancur, that's about his 6th foul. He still hasn't been booked.
Still escaped the yellow card. Here's the change. Richarlison is coming on, and it's the number 19 that is up. So change of shape maybe. Certainly require a tweak or two because of the introduction here of Tottenham's new number 9. A debut for Richarlison, but a proven Premier League performer already. He was key in keeping Everton up, wasn't he, at the end of last season. He's on for Ryan Sessegnon. Lloris comes and gathers the ball inside his own penalty area and launches it long, left-footed towards Kane, who has company up top now. Richarlison has seemingly taken up a position alongside Harry Kane as the focal point of the attack.
It looks like they've gone to almost a 4-4-2, Tottenham.
It's a bold move, isn't it? Before the hour mark.
Why not? I like it. You know, they struggled playing the same system as Chelsea, so let's change the system and see if it has an effect on the game.
Yeah, certainly a different dynamic now. 57 on the clock. Chelsea 1, Spurs 0. Kulusevski now wide on the right hand side, has it here, looking for Richarlison with his back to goal. He found himself a little bit outnumbered, and it's Jorginho that is able to come clear for Chelsea. Cucurella clears down the touchline towards Raheem Sterling, but he's dispossessed by Choypier. Already Spurs starting to see a bit more with the ball. Here is Son, and now Emerson Royal. Time to advance up towards the edge of the penalty area and whips the cross in just too far in front of Richarlison. Kane can't quite get there either, but since the substitution, and it's a sample size only of a few seconds or so, it's a different looking Spurs side.
It's just giving Chelsea a few more problems, because basically Spurs have got 4 absolute out and out forwards on the pitch now, you know, and they are going to try and pin this Chelsea back 5, if you like, back and make them defend now.
Already we're starting to see a few different questions asked here, a few more questions asked anyway of this Chelsea defence than has been the case at any stage of the game. Chelsea leading Spurs by 1-0 on the Premier League Live. At TalkSport Live, our Twitter address. Great to hear from you wherever you're listening to us around the world today. 1-0 is the way it finished at the City Ground early. Nottingham Forest getting their first win back in the Premier League for 23 years after their victory against West Ham. They still have Liverpool Palace to come tomorrow night, but this one remains in the balance at Stamford Bridge today. Kulusevski currently in a lengthy dialogue with referee Anthony Taylor. He's been relatively lenient so far, hasn't he? We saw that clear-cut caution for Reece James, but that has been it.
There hasn't really been a bad challenge in the game, has there? I mean, Reece James was obviously stopping the counter and had to be a yellow card, but other than that, they've all been little niggly fouls. There hasn't been a bad challenge in the game. It's been highly contested, but certainly very fair.
Not often you get an hour in a London derby like this with just the one yellow card, I guess, but can't really argue with too many of the officials' decisions. Chelsea was 70% of the possession. Spurs have the ball here, albeit deep inside their own territory. Ben Davies with a throw. He's the one who's seemingly gone to left back in this change of formation. Richarlison helping it forward, cut out and cleared back from whence it came by Koulibaly. Kai Havertz holds on to it, but he is currently facing his own goal before Jorginho prods it forward for Mason Mount to work it into spaces. Loftus-Cheek, he's into the penalty area taking on Davis, closed down by Romero. Loftus-Cheek still has it, trying to force his way through. Raheem Sterling takes over, delayed the shot a fraction, and then it's cleared the crossbar when it came as he attempted to wrap his right boot around it. There was a lot of space by then. The chance was for Sterling, but initially the ground was covered by Ruben Loftus-Cheek. And Chelsea close to 2.
Yeah, Loftus-Cheek can't inside on his left foot. Tries to bundle the ball into the box. It falls for Raheem Sterling. He's jinking and dropping his shoulder. Kane.
Chance at the other end for Harry Kane from out of almost nothing, and it's gone just a whisker away by a massive margin. Tottenham's best opportunity falling at the feet of the player they would have wanted it to. Harry Kane charging forward on the counter, a move that began inside their own half. He was onside. Son would have been off, but it fell for Kane. He took it on a couple of touches and he's just dragged it across Mendy's goal and just wide.
Yeah, you'd expect Harry Kane. It really was a drag as well. Not a clean strike of the ball when he went through there. Just obviously didn't score last week, looking for that first goal of the season. A confident Harry Kane just slots that home.
I mean, it wasn't too far wide, but it was nowhere near as close as it should have been.
You could see when he struck it, he just lacked that confidence in it.
First chance of the game really for Kane, and he snatched at it somewhat. He wasn't able to take advantage. And wide it goes, and well, how costly that might prove to be, we shall see. I think there's been a yellow card for Edouard Mendy here, the second name into the book. Not sure it was for taking too long, maybe for something that he said. Play back underway with Cucurella over on that far side. Well, Kane does have history in his sights today. He's 2 away from Thierry Henry in terms of London derby goals in the Premier League. Kane on 41. He's looking to move level to 4th all-time in the Premier League goal scorers list with Sergio Aguero. And that was his chance today, but wide it went, and the slender Chelsea lead remains intact. They're back on the ball, the Blues. There was Jorginho looking to double their advantage. Reece James, edge of the penalty area. Loftus-Cheek on the right, delivers the cross which should have been cut out and wasn't. Conte is then able to tee up Jorginho. His effort is blocked by Højbjerg on the edge of the penalty area, and Chelsea forced back to halfway. But
it's a better game now,
isn't it? The second goal of the game looks imminent.
Yeah, Spurs are offering a lot more going forward. They look much more dangerous now.
Here they come, Højbjerg for Richarlison, and the offside flag is up as he tried to take on Koulibaly. But he's made a difference, whether it's just the tactical tweak or...
Certainly the tactical change has made a difference, and Harry Kane having a partner so close to him has really helped Tottenham. But Chelsea have come the closest to getting that second. Certainly Raheem Sterling should have scored, opens himself up, opens the goal up brilliantly, works the opportunity and just gets too much power on it and lifts it over the crossbar.
Thomas Tuchel on his knees on the edge of his technical area. Theatrical reaction from the Chelsea coach, knowing the importance of a second goal at this stage. Here's Kulusevski for Spurs. They do look more of a threat themselves now, though. Emerson Royal in support of the attack. His cross charged down by Cucurella, but kept in on the touchline by the Brazilian Emerson Royal. Now Højbjerg looking for another Brazilian, Richarlison. Cucurella in the way. And it will be a Spurs corner. And it's a different game. Chelsea are going to get, you suspect, maybe more chances, but equally Spurs creating much more of their own, which is why I say the second goal appears more imminent. At which end, I'm not sure.
You know, it's a much better game now. Spurs are really in this game.
Yes, I think it's their first corner of the contest. I've seen 8 at the other end. Options for them. It's going to be Son to take it. Whipped in right-footed towards the near post area. Eric Dyer is claiming another corner as he rose with Loftus-Cheek, and he is going to get another one. Second for Spurs in quick succession, and a chance for Son to try again from the same side. With almost 20 minutes of this second half played on Premier League Live. Chelsea 1, Tottenham 0. The game looking more in the balance really at this stage than it has at any stage. And Son will try again. Tried something similar as well. Nobody could quite get a definitive touch to it, though. Neither could Richarlison beyond the initial posse of players. And now the counter-attack. It was led by Sterling. He played it into the feet of Conte, continued his run. And across, careering across, covering from the other side of the field, was Emerson Royal, who got enough on that to nick it away from Raheem Sterling.
A real chance of a counter-attack for Chelsea. Raheem Sterling starts it off, plays a nice ball inside to N'Golo Kante, and Raheem Sterling's then running on his right-hand side. It's a really poor ball from N'Golo Kante. Just needed to put a little bit more pace on it, give it to Raheem Sterling. He'd then be 1v1 against Emerson Royal, and you fancy Raheem Sterling all day long in that situation. Just sloppy from Kante, and he's been really good on the ball today.
Yeah, that particular pass just gave Emerson Royal the chance, didn't it, to get the all-important touch. Deny Raheem Sterling a clear run on goal. 65 played. Still just the one goal, the Koulibaly goal between these fierce London rivals on this Premier League Sunday. It's away by Edouard Mendy, decent distance on his clearance towards Loftus-Cheek, challenged in the air by Ben Davies, who did just about enough in that challenge. Right in front of Antonio Conte. A one previous win against Chelsea in 5 matches where he's met his former club. Here's Kai Havertz, held up by the byline, but inside the Spurs penalty area. Now support from Sterling just outside the box to the right hand side. He's taking on Dyer here and then dinks the cross in. Nobody quite advanced enough to profit from that, and it was cleared before it could reach Mason Mount. And here's Kulusevski, and maybe the opportunity for the counter, though he's held up by Koulibaly. Cucurella was in support of his teammate. Kulusevski will settle in the end for the foul on halfway.
Delightful ball from Raheem Sterling, wasn't it? Gets to the byline, he dinks a beautiful ball up to the back post, and you're just looking for a Chelsea player to come and arrive, and there's no one there.
Now it's Tottenham's turn. They have it inside Chelsea territory with Ben Davies advancing up towards the edge of the penalty area, forced a little wider here by Loftus-Cheek. He certainly has more defensive duties to think about. Havertz, though, has got the better of Bentancur initially anyway. Bentancur trying to get back to him. Again committed to the challenge. Havertz is furious that...
How is that not a free kick?
No free kick has been given. And
that's beyond belief.
Sympathy with him, yeah. I mean, I was thinking that surely had to be Bentancur.
That was a yellow card.
Yeah.
I immediately grabbed my yellow marker to mark it down, absolutely.
Not even a free kick, that's astonishing. It's Kane seeing his effort blocked by Conte, but it comes back to Harry Kane here. Midway point of the second half now on Premier League Live. Out to Emerson Royal on that far side. Kulusevski taking on Mason Mount and Cucurella. Might get a second bite at it, but the two Chelsea players just about did enough, although Jorginho's come under pressure. Son's won it. Ben Davies teeing up. Højbjerg to strike it! Oh, and he's found the bottom corner! And Spurs are back level. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg with the equalising goal. Struck it first time right-footed, skipped through, and the goalkeeper at full stretch, Mendy to his right, couldn't get there. There's furious Chelsea protests on the touchline, spilling over in the direction of the fourth official at the moment. It might be one for VAR, but it is...
How far do you go back, though?
Exactly.
How far do you go back? Oh, it's so far back, isn't it? It's 100% a free kick. How the referee and the assistant have missed it, I have got no idea. He gets nowhere near the ball, Bentancur.
Well, the ball didn't go out of play after that, but surely it can't be classed as the same phase of play.
It's a foul. It's a foul. I mean, it's so obviously a foul.
Well, Havertz is continuing those complaints.
It's just how far do you go back?
Exactly.
I mean, it's a long way back, isn't it?
Well, it's going to take some sorting out because literally everybody is
there. It really has
involved.
kicked off on the sideline, hasn't it?
I think that the drinks break was always scheduled about this stage, but it's an opportune time to take one whilst they sort this out, because it was clearly the wrong call at the time not to give the free kick. But there was an awful long time between that moment and Højbjerg's goal.
There's going to be some yellow cards here, I think, maybe for people on the bench on the sideline.
I mean, Havertz is continuing the protest here. And
it's a foul. I mean, it's a clear foul. I can't believe they both missed it.
Everybody having their say just at the moment.
I just don't see how you can go back that far. I mean, such a lot happened after that. It really would set a precedent if they go all the way back.
I mean, yeah, that is the issue here, because clearly it's not the same phase of play. There are yellow cards being brandished, and rather liberally.
Conte as well got one, I think. Yep.
Yeah, Conte's got the latest one. I think another member of the coaching staff just prior to that saw yellow as well. Conte now talking to Højbjerg, who, as it stands, has scored the equalising goal. There's nothing wrong with his finish, was there?
Oh, it's a great finish, wasn't it? He got it absolutely perfect. He found the bottom corner. It was precision. It wasn't the cleanest of strikes. Jorginho really sloppy in the box. Should have just cleared his lines. Little set from Ben Davies. Højbjerg shoots first time with his right foot, and he drags it perfectly into the corner. There's a question mark about Richarlison's position, but I think Mendy can see that all day long.
Richarlison, when the ball was struck, is offside. Is he interfering with?
I don't think
the
he
line
saves
of vision of Mendy.
I don't think he saves it anyway. Koulibaly's in the way as well. You know, Koulibaly's in the way as much as Richarlison was. I don't think you can bring the goal back for that. You can bring it back for this foul, because it's 100% a foul.
And given what had gone before, I mean, that part of the argument is academic, really, but it should have been a booking for Bentancur.
Oh, Bentancur should have been in the book before.
Yeah.
If he makes that, did he get the? I don't think he does. I think from the referee's point of view, it looks like he does, but he doesn't get the ball.
You can, from the angle that the referee had, and we've just seen that angle on the monitor, you can see why he didn't give the free kick at the time.
But the linesman should have seen it. The assistant on that side of the pitch had a much better view.
And it immediately spilled over on the touchline when the ball went in.
Yeah, there's no love lost between these two sides. It's a real rivalry, this one.
It never takes much, doesn't it?
No.
But, I mean, a moment as contentious as that.
You very rarely see Thomas Tuchel lose his temper like that. Really rarely. You know, Conte's very animated on the sides, and he's always like that, but very rarely do you see Thomas Tuchel like that. But he's right, it was 100% a foul.
We've had confirmation that Conte was cautioned. I don't think he was the only one, though, amongst them.
No, I think there was at least one assistant from each side, I think, that got a yellow card as well. I don't know what's happening now.
Well, players yet to resume. We've had the drinks break, that's been and gone.
Surely they've had time to look at VAR if that's what they were going to look at.
I think Jorginho's been substituted amongst all of that, because he is now sat in the dugout, and Cesar Azpilicueta is on for Chelsea.
I think that would probably mean Ruben Loftus-Cheek maybe going into midfield, potentially. Reece James stepping up to right wing back, Azpilicueta playing right side centre back. And that's exactly what's happened.
He did start last weekend as Azpilicueta. He is on, and we are back underway. 1-1. Højbjerg's goal has levelled this up against the overall balance of play, although in the few minutes that preceded it, Spurs were beginning to find more of a threat. But for all the protests, I mean, it simply couldn't be taken back far enough for the goal to be disallowed. And there was maybe that suspicion of Richarlison interfering with the line of vision of Edouard Mendy, but there wasn't, we felt, enough in it for the goal to be disallowed for that reason. And Mike Dean on VAR obviously has concurred with that. So we're back underway. The goal stands 1-1, and we've got quite some finish in store
This
here.
is going to be a brilliant last 20-25 minutes or so. Spurs are right on top now. The change to the 4 has really helped them get back into this game.
Mason Mount. Chelsea have to try and do this all over again. It's going to run away from Raheem Sterling. Just ran out of room there, did Sterling. And Chelsea need to compose themselves now for all their perceived sense of injustice. They have to use that to fuel their response rather than let it fester and cloud their judgment.
And since Spurs have gone to that 4-4-2 shape, Chelsea have really struggled to dominate the ball as much as they did before, and now they need to find a way to find that dominance again, get some possession, pin Spurs back.
Well, they've not really come to terms with the change in Spurs shape, have they? It's certainly had the desired impact from Antonio Conte. Here's Emerson Royal with the throw, infield towards the goal scorer Hjobjerg. Crucial contribution from him. Scored just the twice last season. It is the sixth goal in total of his Tottenham Hotspur career since that move from Southampton. And what an important one it might prove to be. Here's Reece James for Chelsea, taking on Son. Delivering first time, brilliant ball in! Oh, and it stayed out somehow. It's a big miss from right in front of goal. Mason Mount was arriving. Got a touch to it, and you felt that was all he needed to do to turn it in, but it has stayed out somehow across the face of goal and behind.
I mean, what a ball. Reece James just moved up to right wing back, and this is a cross of the highest quality. Just takes out the whole of the Tottenham defence, bends it in behind them. There is Mason Mount arriving on the volley, left foot.
In fact, it's Havertz, isn't it?
Havertz arrives on the volley, left foot, just has to put it either side of the goalkeeper. He puts it either side of the goalkeeper, but finds the wrong side of the post. Thomas Tuchel, hands in the air, looking up to the skies. Can't believe they've missed that opportunity.
Yeah, both Mount and Havertz were making those runs. It was Kai Havertz on the end of the opportunity. Now it's Cucurella with a cross. It's far from convincing from Ben Davies. Straight up in the air with a clearance. Son has to help it away. Chelsea are back on top here, but they will feel they should be back in front.
That's what Reece James gives you as a wing-back. He has got some of the best quality of crosses in this division. Him and Trent Alexander-Arnold, two sensational deliverers of a cross.
There's Richarlison back helping out his own defence under pressure from N'Golo Conte. It was a brilliant ball in a moment ago, though, wasn't it, from Reece James, which merited a goal.
It should have been a goal, shouldn't it?
For the delivery itself, if nothing else. But Havertz couldn't keep it in. He couldn't turn it in. Cucurella has kept it in here and finds Mason Mount. Havertz once more on the edge of the penalty area. Cucurella drives it goalwards. It's blocked by Emerson Royal. It's all Chelsea again in the last couple of minutes, though, as we go into the closing quarter of an hour of the contest.
They're going to be driven on by the feeling that they've been hard done by, aren't they? And you can really see it's lifted them.
Cucurella goes short this time with the throw into the feet of Mason Mount. Touch for Romero as Spurs try and get it clear up towards Kulusevski. Koulibaly with him, breaks for N'Golo Conte though, and he slips it into space. Raheem Sterling takes the touch, he's unselfish. It's Reece James, and the Chelsea lead is restored. Thumped in by the fullback from right in front of goal. Thomas Tuchel goes racing away down the touchline to celebrate as the Chelsea players converge in front of their own supporters. This might be their day after all in their first home game of the new season. Reece James looked like he'd made a goal moments earlier. This time he has scored a goal that might mean so much. It's Chelsea 2, Tottenham 1.
He was never going to miss, Reece James, was he? I mean, the quality of that right foot, he was never going to miss. He powered it past Hugo Lloris. Spurs think there was a foul probably just before that on Kulusevski on the other side of the pitch, on the far side of the pitch, but how they found themselves overloaded. Spurs Romero plays the ball down the line, little touch around the corner. Kulusevski feels that's a foul. I don't think it is. Kante plays into Sterling. Great composure from Raheem Sterling. Plays the pass, perfectly weighted to his right hand side. There's Reece James, just the goalkeeper to beat, and he just side foots it past him. The power beats Hugo Lloris. He guesses one way, Reece James put it the other way, and Reece James was never going to miss that. The quality in that right foot is absolutely brilliant. Tuchel doing a David Pleat back in the day. It's a long time since I've seen them.
One for our older listeners maybe. But that's exactly the style of celebration it was. Well, as Reece James stumped that in, he put himself in the perfect position to profit. And Sterling, as you mentioned, deserves real credit because he was so unselfish. Could easily have taken the shot on, but
he's still looking for his first goal for the club, isn't he, Raheem Sterling? He could have taken it on himself, but picked the right pass at the right time, and that's what champions do, and that's why Chelsea have signed him from Manchester City, because he knows how to be a champion. He knows what it takes to make those correct decisions at the right times.
Yeah, really showed his quality with his role in the goal. And Chelsea lead Spurs for the second time this afternoon by 2-1. Tottenham have made a change, I think. And a double change, actually. Perisic and Basuma both coming on. Bentancur and Son have made way in the immediate aftermath of that Chelsea goal. 2-1 they lead as we head towards the last 10 minutes of the 90, although there'll be a bit to come after that as well, I think, given the way this second half has panned out. Here's Cucurella, keeps it in play on that far side. Little touch for N'Golo Kanté, neat turn from Kanté as well before Azpilicueta plays it forward, and Chelsea try and advance. And it's going to be interesting now to see what happens from here, given that they have got their noses back in front. Did Chelsea continue to press and put it beyond all doubt, or is there a modification in their approach, given there is only 10 minutes or so to go?
I think they've got some old heads on that pitch, haven't they? They need some cool heads now, Chelsea. The team that keeps the coolest heads here will either get back into the game or they'll go on and win it. If Chelsea can keep the cool heads, and the experience they've got in Kanté, Koulibaly and Thiago Silva could be crucial here. Azpilicueta as well, you know, the 4 defensive-minded players on that pitch. Such experience of winning things and seeing things through.
As it stands, more suffering for Spurs at Stamford Bridge. Their wretched record here set to continue unless they can summon something up. They look to get Perisic involved, ready for the first time since his introduction, but it is the match winner as it stands, Reece James, who gets back doing the day job defensively to nudge that behind. I say that the day job, is attacking role, is every bit as important as his defensive duties in this team, isn't it? But he's conceded the corner here, which looks like Perisic is going to take for Spurs. 9 minutes plus added time to play on Premier League Live. Chelsea 2, Tottenham 1. Clubs have met 60 times in the Premier League era, and Spurs have only won 7 of them. Can they salvage the 21st draw in that sequence? It's Perisic with a corner. They won't, with the quality of delivery summoned up on that occasion. It was not a good corner. It was comfortably cleared away, and we're going to see another change. We're going to see Lucas Moura, I think, brought on here. It's going to be in place of Emerson Royale. We have seen Lucas Moura in a wing-back role, but an attacking player by trade, needs must for Spurs. The previous change from Conte, the first change from Conte, worked well, but Chelsea have found their response. Now they've got more defending to do as the throw comes in, and N'Golo Kanté's got a bit of an issue pulling up off the ball as Spurs play on and look for Richarlison. Conte down. Anthony Taylor has now intervened and gone across to check on his well-being. The way that he pulled up will have been of a real concern to Chelsea here.
You'd be hoping, if you're a Chelsea fan, that it's cramp, but if it's a hamstring pull, which the way he's holding the back of his hamstring it looks like, then that's him gone for a long time. I'm hopeful it's cramp. He has been everywhere today. He really has had a really good game. He's got tape on the back of that leg. Substitution would suggest that this is worse than cramp.
Yeah, the indication from the medical staff is